Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Are we live? We are live. Tyler Wood Bushcraft here, and we are doing our second episode of the Bushcraft Podcast. And I have a lot of special guests lined up for tonight. We're going to be covering lots of topics: bushcraft, camping, homesteading, prepping, all related. And I'm going to bring up my partner in crime who helped me come up with this whole podcast series, Mark. So let's go ahead and bring him.
There we are. How's it going, buddy? You old pitter-patter stop now? Gotta turn your mic on.
There we go.
There we go. I'm still teaching them, but hey, guys, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight for the second podcast. Great to see everyone in here.
Absolutely. I'm trying out this whole OBS background thing, so hopefully it's coming out good on YouTube. I want to thank everyone for coming in here. As I said, we got a lot of special guests tonight. We have another YouTuber who got really famous for his video, the 70 subscriber camping special and the winter blizzard, Nicholas Green Outdoors. We have Drop Forge Survival, Chris Thorne, going to be in here as well. And of course, my good buddy here, Mark, and myself, and hopefully one of our good buddies that we talk to quite often, Sty North.
So we got a full house. A bushcraft. Hey, this is only one-sided here. There's too many bushcrafters in here. We need some homesteading people in here too.
There you go.
Yeah.
So far, pretty good. Let me get caught up here on the comments before I get way behind like last time. So I just got back from doing a 3-day catch and cook survival challenge. 8 armadillo, raccoon, and wild onions over the fire. It was awesome, but I have diarrhea now. Yeah, that sucks. So hopefully you I didn't experience diarrhea until you got back home and you wasn't out in the woods with those kind of symptoms.
Hey, Compound, thanks for coming over. Glad to see you guys. Herbert T Outdoors.
Audio is out of sync.
Yeah, YouTube kind of really stinks with the audio. It's going to be a little bit back. Chicken Farmer Rick says, I'm a homesteading. All right. Glad that you came in here.
Very cool. I am here. Hello, Mary.
Killdeer Survival. The homesteaders are coming. We're all sending in the cavalry. I like that.
Awesome. That's what it's about, guys.
Counselor, good to see you, buddy. Guys, for anybody that doesn't know, besides Tyler, Micro Homesteader is my partner on Saturday night when we do our live stream on homesteading. So I'm taking the homesteading community and I'm taking the bushcraft community, and we're going to put them all together because it's pretty much the same.
JG, how's it going? Crazy Ann, Phil, with everything spicy, and you guys that are into spicy food challenges, check out Everything Spicy with Phil. He's got some crazy stuff. He eats some absolute crazy hot stuff. Just successfully completed the fire roll. Found the char cloth can help to extend the ember. Oh, absolutely. Mark, you've ever made some char cloth, have you?
Yep, lots of times.
Good stuff. Now, what is your method behind the way you do your char cloth? How do you prep and make it?
I just take my char cloth. It has to be cotton. It has to be 100% cotton. So what I'll do is I'll take a T-shirt that I just, like if I buy my white T-shirts, I'll put one off the side. I will cut it up in little chunks. And that little Lentos can, just throw it in the fire. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Go and pull it out.
See, I do like, I'll find like 100% cotton, like my old bandanas or a shirt, and I'll cut those into strips, and then I'll put those in like an Altoids can. I'll poke a little hole on top of that and throw it right in there. Let it sit for a while. So, absolutely.
Don't forget, guys, when you're coming in, if you haven't, hit that thumbs up. It does help us out with YouTube analytics to show them that we know what we're talking about. So,
hello there, Sty. How's it going, buddy? I did send you a link, Sty, in the Messenger app. So if you have time, you want to come up on here, we can get you up on here and talk a little bushcrafting.
Bushcrafting. Hope everybody's good on the holidays, and I hope everybody has a really safe holiday this year. We don't want no one getting hurt.
Absolutely, and especially don't stress out over the holidays. I've been hearing a lot about people that are stressed out over the season. It's not worth it. Believe me, I started getting stressed out too. I'm one of those last minute shoppers. So today I was all around looking and spending countless hours in an aisle trying to find something that I never got. So
good to see Eileen. Thank you for joining us. Thanks so much.
Hello, Eileen.
Texas Jungle. Hello, and how are you? Trail Trash Outdoors.
That is Travis Smith, Trail Trash Outdoors. He just created that channel. He's actually got a very good meeting on why he created this channel. So definitely anyone in here that's interested in checking it out, check it out. He goes out on hiking and camping adventures, and he tries to find trash or stuff that people neglect leaving behind. And he's made a whole channel out of it. So it's always good to see that stuff, because as I know a lot of people like Mark preach too, whatever you pack in, pack out. So that's your trash and everything.
Yeah, everything too. Yep. And if you see something on the way in, pick it up.
Absolutely.
Pick it up. Let's clean it up. Hey, there's my sensei. Hey, Sty.
Hey, guys. Hey, sorry I'm a little late.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
You're good.
We had a little private thing going on, and after another stream, and we were a little slow getting out of there. But here I am. I made it, guys. Hey, I did catch you talking about making char cloth. You know what I did? And it was just, I didn't have a clue if it would work or not. But I used a pair of all cotton denim jeans and cut it into 1-inch squares. And I packed one of those cookie cans that you get for the holidays. They're probably about 10 inches across, and they're about 3.5 inches, 4 inches high. I took one of those cookie cans and I packed that as tight full of them squares of denim as I could get. And all I did was punch a small hole, took the tip of my knife, punch a small hole in the lid, and I put a piece of wire around so that there's no chance of that lid popping off. And I just stuck that in the fire pit while I fixed my dinner. And when all of a sudden it quit smoking, I pulled that bugger out, let her cool down, popped the lid, and I had more char cloth than I ever knew what the heck I was going to do with it. So I bagged it up and I sold it on eBay for $12 a bag with about 20 squares in each
wow.
bag.
That's
Yeah,
smart.
I didn't know what else to do with it. I had so much. But
You know,
it worked.
the other thing too is that up here by us, Sty, we got fatwood.
Oh yeah,
We got some of the best fatwood, and people
Yeah.
will buy. You see how much that stuff is on YouTube?
oh yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. I've told myself so many times, why aren't you out there fatwood hunting? There's so many, and you can find some awesome old growth trees
Yep.
that have finally uprooted. You know, they broke off at the stump and the roots are kind of hiked up. Go out there with a camp shovel and an axe and you can come out of there with a lot of gold. That's
What we do up here too is I'll take my silky saw on the old growths and like the red pines and stuff, and you can go around and tap on them, and the silky saw will make a tang sound to it when you hit the fatwood, and you go right alongside that thing, and I can pull out nice chunks about like this, and you can smell that stuff a mile away. As soon as you cut into it, you'll just, and it's funny because the silky saw will actually, it doesn't want to bite, it'll float because it's so hard and it's so crisp.
It's so hard it doesn't want to cut. It's like cutting ironwood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello,
I've had some red pines, old ancient ones, broke off at the stump that I've actually smelled them. I could smell them before I even saw them.
Yep.
And just followed my nose and go, oh my gosh, look at that stump. And you grab on and yank and break a chunk off that stump that's like a big piece of cordwood, and it's just it weighs 10 pounds. So full of resin, it's just awesome.
If you guys have not actually checked out fatwood, there's a bunch of different videos out there. I got one on my channel. Fatwood you can light anywhere.
Yeah.
And here in northern Wisconsin, it's just like going out and buying the good stuff from a company, because you just shave a little bit of it off, you put it in your tinder, and you hit that, and she just goes, and you got a lit. It's like one of the seconds to lighting a fire. It is awesome.
Yeah. See, I use birch bark in every condition except wet. Then the fatwood's out. Yeah. Because I don't want them. I can get birch to go in wet conditions, but it's a lot of work. Fatwood's just a sure thing, and I don't want to wait for a fire. I've gotten lazy in my old age, so. And it takes nothing to carry a stick of fatwood in your pocket, you know?
Yep. Right, and it never hurts. Yeah. It could be that little extra that you would need to keep warm at night if all else fails.
Yeah. That's it.
See, up here in our country, me and Sty got to come up with other ways to light a fire, because if it's a wet condition, especially in wintertime, because the snow sits on the top, so you're taking wood out, you're taking and making your tinder bundle off the bottom. So if you're looking for cedar, you're looking for birch bark, grass on the way in, whatever meat, cattails, any means necessary. I'm filling my pockets as I'm walking, because I want a nice big tinder bundle.
I don't know how often I've walked into camp and guys look at me like I'm goofy, because every pocket's full of. I got cedar underbark, off of a dead cedar. I've got one pocket full, and I got the other pocket full of birch. I got birch bark stuffed in my belt. I've got grass, prairie grass, and all that crap sticking out of all my pockets. The one guy, he says, "God, you look like the scarecrow off of Wizard of Oz walking in here." I said, "Yeah," but I said, "We got fires for the rest of the week." But I can't walk past a perfect piece of birch bark laying on the ground. I can't step over. I got to pick it up, stick it in my pocket,
The other wonderful thing we got up here is called paper birch.
Yeah, the paper birch. That stuff's great. Don't grab it and peel it off the tree, please. Take your knife out and cut it flush to the tree. Don't peel it away from the tree, because that can damage the tree.
But when you do that, Sty, we get another concept in there. We get the old chaga.
Well, that's it. If you wanna start fire old school, use a hand drill and some chaga. Take you about 3 minutes to get your fire going. I'm gonna do a video. I'm gonna do a video this spring on chaga hearth boards again. I already did a hearth board video, but I'm gonna do using the hearth board for bow drill and hand drill. Off the cuff out in the woods. Because
there's so many different kinds of, you can actually carry ambers, so you can take your traditional fire and you can stick it in a mushroom, and you just kind of carve out a little opening, put your a piece of amber in there, and you can, for hours and hours, that amber will sit there and glow and feed off that mushroom, and you can take that to your next fire, drop your amber out, and you got another one going.
See, I could take a piece of chaga like this one. And I got chaga. I can't not have chaga, but I can take a piece of chaga like this. I can hold it between my knees and take any one of this part of the area. I'd probably take it close to the outer black shell and take a hand drill, get it going until I got an ember in it. And all I got to do is take that bugger, stick it in an outer pocket of my backpack, and I can hike for 2, 4, 6 hours with this, get there, and that ember is eating itself into this chaga, and I just take a knife in there and I cut the ember out of it, put it into a bird's nest, and got a fire.
Old school.
Spit in it, puts the fire out, throw that back in my pack, and then days later I'll go hiking again. I just want to take my fire with, drop a little ember on it. It'll burn a hole in it. Stick that bugger in an outer pocket on your backpack, take off again, and that bugger will come with you. That's how the cavemen in temperate zones like ours hauled their fire around with them. I mean, they figured it out.
You think about that though. Now we have, the ferro rods, we got manganese rods, we got Bic lighters, we got everything else. But when you're sitting here and you're cold and you're using a bow drill, or you're just using the old friction fire or any of those other things, when you get that amber going, you want to keep that. So you want to pass that down to the next day because you don't want to go through that again. Right. So this is a wonderful way to carry your amber with you to the next spot.
That's it. You have to find, there's certain shelf mushrooms that grow on birch and balsam and aspen that make perfect amber carriers too. It's not just chaga. I've taken their dark brown
turkey tail.
Yep. And you can get an ember on them, and you can put that. I used to carry a real heavy leather pouch for doing that. Put an ember in a shelf mushroom and carry it in the pouch. And
that's a good idea.
And because then it doesn't catch that leather pouch on fire if it does get out of control in there. I've had one get out of control in my backpack, a piece of chaga. Right. I was hiking and guy behind me started laughing, and I turned around and I said, "What's so funny?" And I saw smoke, and I go, "Where the hell's that smoke come from?" He says, "Your backpack." And I go, "Oh my gosh." Here I hadn't spit on that chaga enough to get the ember out. So I threw it in my backpack, and about 2 hours later, that ember started to grow, and it caught a pair of socks in my backpack on fire. And so,
oh wow,
yeah.
Guys, too, if you have any questions or anything tonight, please put them in all caps across the top so that one of us can catch it, and then we can answer your question. I know Chelsea had a question for me. He said it was a normal question. I saw that in the beginning, Chelsea, so don't forget. I did see it.
Yeah.
What do you think of the new place here, Sty?
What's that?
What do you think of my new place back here?
I know. I'm kind of jealous. I mean, throw another log on the fire there, Tyler.
Oh, yeah. I better check that out. Oh, no way. There it is.
Yeah. It's cool, though. Yeah. It's cool.
Let me tell you, you want to talk about a headache. I am not anything electronic minded, so Mark had to pretty much baby step me all the way to getting this where I want it. So talk about a headache.
I got a really big shout out to do, guys, is because I wouldn't be where I am today without my partner in crime. And he's in the chat right now. He was the one that helped me build my system from the ground up. He's walked me through so many different things and got me through so many different problems. Guys, if you have not checked Micro Homesteaders, you need to do him. He is a wonderful guy. He is awesome, 100%. Thanks you, bud, for all the help that you've given me, because I couldn't be here without you.
Yeah, that's a good shout out for him, Mark, because Micro's great. Micro's great, folks.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but I'm meeting. Just met him not that long ago. He seems like an awesome guy, very knowledgeable too. So.
Yeah, and very unique, but yet personable. He's very, he's the kind of guy you want to be a friend with. Yeah.
Let's see. I think I've seen a question in here.
Yeah, Jason, that's right. Yeah, if you don't keep it in a completely enclosed, airtight container, and if you have it, I do. That's what I do now. Usually, is I just wrap the shaga in loose tin foil, and then I stick it in a leather bag. And I haven't had it get away from me.
I'll go get my bag. I actually got it. Bring it back.
See, that's the one thing I didn't. I figured, when we do these bushcraft talks, that people are going to ask a little about gear too, and I don't have it on me. I might have to get that during a quick break. But Mary had asked ferro rod recommendations. I haven't had any luck with the ferro rods. I'm just getting a quality one, I guess, maybe, or I need more practice. My recommendation when it comes to ferro rods is try to find, if you can test it out, try to find one that feels soft. I know that sounds weird, but the softer the ferro rod is, the better sparks, the more sparks you're going to get out of it. I got really lucky when I went last year to Canoecopia, and I picked up a UST. It's my orange one you guys always see in my video. Yeah. It's like 5/8 thick, and it shoots off huge sparks. It's really soft, so I would recommend that.
All right. Yep. So this is a Wisconsin fire kit. Now this is homemade, so this is what probably if I would go and look through Sty stuff, he'd probably have the same exact thing. So you have an Altoids can here.
Oh yeah.
Inside there is the old Bic lighter.
Yeah.
This is my amber and my fire kit. It used to be a shovel holder. Okay. First thing in there, fat wood. Right off the bat. Then I've got alcohol, and I have some fat wood that is already shaved off in a sealed container. So if I'm really cold, I can just take it out, sprinkle it on.
Right. Ready to go.
And then I have some more fat wood. And then inside here, I'm not going to pull this out because it's going to go nuts. I'll get some of it because I can pull this out. But I have a mixture of birch bark, cedar, and lint. That is right here. And there is a perfect
bird's nest for you.
Right there.
Yeah.
So if I can't find anything that I'm walking in with that I cannot pick up, I already have a traditional bird's nest already set up where I can set this in my fire, put my fat wood in there, and I'm ready to go. And this will burn fast and hot and now. And then I do have some bigger chunks of like splinters that I would, especially one of the biggest things, like when I do my carvings, I save it.
Right.
Because that stuff works great. And there's some little paper shavings in here from when I like grind up important papers and stuff from the shredders. I'll throw that in there too. But that is my kit.
I wish, it's been a very confusing last 4 or 5 days for me. I wish I would have grabbed a bunch of my gear and hauled it in here so I had it handy, because I would love to pull my fire kit out and show it, Mark, because it's pretty close to a match of yours. The one thing I like to do is I'll go out, I'll find a downed birch, and that's where I'll peel the bark, right? So I'll get a nice paper birch and I'll peel a sheet off about 4 inches wide, but it'll be about a foot long. And then I make a bird's nest out of any preferred materials that get my hands on. I put the bird's nest inside and I roll it up like a tube.
Mm-hmm.
And then I take that tube and I just peel, take that sheet and you'll just peel one edge off. And you just use that for a lace and tie that tube shut. And I'll throw 4 of those tubes in my backpack. There's a bird's nest in the tube, the birch bark's in the tube, and my ferro rod's always around my neck when I'm outdoors. So I just know if I can get to my pack, I've got 4 fires no matter what. So if I get camp bound because of weather, I know I've got 4 times I can light a fire without any effort. If it's raining, heck, I can hold my hat over it while I get it going. So
actually you can use the birch bark in 2 different ways. You can pull it, and you can also scrape it. So when you actually pull your layers off, and you use that portion, you're going to have the ambium layer in between there, and you can actually take your knife on the backside and you can start scraping that off like you would do with flatwood or something like that. And there's another thing that you can use.
Yep.
It looks like Mary said she also carry also a pencil sharpener. It's good for sharpening. Absolutely. Like I said, none of us are experts when we go out there, especially our first time. When I first started, when I went out there, because I wasn't really good at feathering stick, doing a feather stick, I would actually take a cheese grater that I would buy from like the dollar store or something like that. And I just take nice wood and I just keep going back and forth and I find that consistency. Yeah, absolutely.
I saw a guy that, I think I have one.
Also, too, Mary, if you're having issues with your ferro rod, don't be afraid to put a little pressure as you go ahead and strike it, especially for those more hardened ferro rods. Definitely put a little bit of pressure on it with the spine of your knife, or if you have a striker that came with it, definitely go ahead and do that and put a little pressure on it as you do it, and you'll kind of notice a difference. You just kind of have to find the right kind of pressure on that.
Homestead Reverence, you can get all kinds of magnesium fire starters out there. You shave the magnesium and then use the ferro rod on the other side to light it.
Yeah.
So with a magnesium, you guys got to remember too, with magnesium fire starters, there's 2 portions to that. First, you got to scrape the magnesium files into your fire, so you get a little pile of magnesium. Then you turn the magnesium thing over, and you got your ferro rod, and you hit a striker on that, and it throws a spark into the magnesium and lights the magnesium. So there's 2 portions to that.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that little silver block.
Yeah.
That's your fuel. That silver block. That little black round bar on the side, that's your ferro rod that you hit with your striker. And I've seen guys trying to start fires right off that little ferro rod. And I'm like, and there's not a scratch on their magnesium block. It's like, hey guys, guess what this block is for? And then you scrape off a bunch of mag and strike it, and they go, oh, I didn't know it did that. But this is one thing, Tyler, that I used to always throw in my pack is one of these. It's a what would you call it? It's for like calluses, removing calluses.
Oh, for a foot or something?
Yeah, for a foot or something. It's got that. It's almost like a tiny cheese grater, and it's got a file on the back. Well, the file, I used to always throw one of these in my pack because the file came in handy for sharpening fish hooks. But the scraper, I'd take fat wood and I'd just scrape with this, and you get these nice fine fat wood scrapings off, and they light so easy. And the thing is it goes back to my old rule, and I've had people say, "Well, that's not bushcrafting." Well, yes, it is. It's being crafty in the bush. You gotta come up with what can you use, how can you use it, and is it dual purpose or more, and is it practical? Is it practical for you to use it? To actually have a good application of it. And
absolutely.
And see, the other thing too is like, here's my normal ferro rod. This is a 1/2 inch by 6 inch ferro rod, and this is a cedar handle. The reason why it's cedar is because I can make shavings, and I have a little fire starter if I want, because this is in my pack. It's really dry.
Right.
They have these wonderful things at Walmart. I'm like, somebody sent me one of these to try to light a fire with. I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? Okay, so your ferro rod sits on the inside.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you push it out, and your ferro rod pops out. Okay, so if you hold these two ends here,
right,
you can see that on there. It actually works really well because you can jam this right into your. The problem that I have is I don't want to jam it into my nest, because then your nest goes all over the place.
That's it.
But it does work. It does throw a nice spark in there. So if you have something like Vaseline and like a cotton ball, any of those other things, alcohol works really good. A little squirt bottle, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, it doesn't take much heat to get that alcohol going. I've taken drinking straws. I'll admit it. I go to Burger King and order a sandwich and a drink, and I go over to the counter where you get your straws, and I stick 10 or 12 of them in my coat pocket because they're nice big fat straws. And I take them home, and I take cotton balls and I tear them in half, get them impregnated with petroleum jelly, and I take a dowel and I shove them inside that straw, and then I cut the straw off at about 1 inch, and I just heat up a needle nose plier, my multi-tool, and pinch the end up. And so they're sealed on the ends, and all I got to do is take my knife and slit that bugger, and I can pull that cotton out of there, hit it with the ferro rod, and off it goes. But you can carry 50 of those in your pack and not even know they're there. I mean, they're instant fire starters, and there's no weight and easy to make. I
do the same thing, and I actually make paraffin wax fire starters that'll give you like a 12 to 15 minute burn time.
Sure.
Out of old egg cartons. We'll fill them up. I'll take cedar, birch, lint, whatever, throw them in there, pour the paraffin wax on it, and I can cut them little chunks out, and I got nice big balls. And all you got to do is make sure you have something in there, like a little piece of flint or what, a dryer, linen or whatever, and you just, as soon as that sparks hits it, it lights.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I've made so many egg carton fire starters. I save all my wax. I like to burn candles in my place, and I've had people say, "Don't buy them candles; they're cheap." And I said, "Yeah, they're cheap because they don't burn all the way to the base. They always leave about 3/4 of an inch of wax in them." Well, I got a double steamer, and I set those old candles in that steamer, and that wax melts, and I pour that into my egg carton fire starters. It works great. Works great. And some of my fire starters actually smell good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a nice little hack you got going on there, Sty. You're going to have to keep talking some more of your home remedies there.
See, we're too poor to go buy the good stuff, so we got to figure out how to make it ourselves.
And that was it, is when I didn't have the resources to buy quality stuff, I kept telling myself, I gotta have that. I gotta have that. How am I going to do it? And then I figured out, you can do it on a budget. You can do it on a budget. Let's figure out a way. And yeah, that's why I tell people, don't give me any excuses that you can't go out there because you don't have the gear. I'll show you how to get the gear. Heck, I'll buy you your first outing's worth. It probably cost me $20, and I'll have you all set up. And
right.
you can go.
The thing of it is with us, we have winter, but in the summertime, what Sny's talking about, it works great. And what? It's simple. I've taken construction style, like Tyler would use, a 55-gallon construction bag. So it's got it's like a thick mill plastic.
Yeah.
So you're down to half. Now I got my shelter.
Yeah. Oh, I've used the 50, 55-gallon construction bags for ponchos. I mean,
Everything.
I always have a couple at the bottom of my pack just in case, because you can make a shelter out of them. If you forgot your poncho, or I don't know if anybody else has, but I don't know how many ponchos, because I'm bushwhacking, I've tore up. And if be
Right.
halfway through a camp and go, my poncho's got more holes in it than anything, so I can't wear it in the rain, and then it's going to rain. Well, out comes a 55-gallon construction bag, 3 holes, 2 for my arms, 1 for my head, and I've got a poncho, and they come down between your knees and waist. I mean, you're really covered well. And I carry 2, because then I put 1 over my pack also. So off you go, cheaply. Oh yeah. Camp Panton. Yeah, everybody should be hitting that like button.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't ever say that. I need to remind people. I know
Yeah,
my moms are doing it. I was in the middle of messaging our other guest that's going to be popping up here with us. So
yeah, that's
I was getting ready.
yeah. I'm notorious for that on my own streams. I forget to tell people, hey, hit that like button, share it out to your friends. Only takes you a couple of seconds. You don't even have to leave the stream to do it. Just hit that share button down there and share it out on your favorite medias. And
I don't have to say nothing. I just click a button.
Just boom, share.
Absolutely, guys. Make sure you share this out on your social media. If you haven't, hit that thumbs up and tell all your friends that we're doing this. We're going to be doing this every Monday nights for the Bushcraft Podcast. And there's a lot of information that's be coming out of here. Not only does bushcraft and homesteading go hand in hand because there's so much alike, you have to compromise in a homestead. You're compromising in the woods. They go hand in hand.
Absolutely, Mark. That's an important point too. I tell you, the ex-wife and I, we had a nice homestead, 80 acres. It was great. We had milk cow and beef steer, hogs, chickens, geese, turkeys, and made a fatal error. Put in almost a half an acre garden. Found out that we could have fed the county with what we were able to grow. But I learned so much on the homestead that I could apply in the outdoors, that then the light came on. It's the same thing. Homesteading is farm crafting. That's what homesteading is. You're a farm crafter, because it takes it right back to the old diverse mom and pop homestead. And that means most of your things have to be developed and made and altered and fixed to meet your needs right on the scene. You can't run to the hardware store and fix everything. You got to stay home and do the job. And it's just like bushcrafting, like being way out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's going to drop you off a new silky saw. Nobody's going to drop you off a companion. We're going to fly over and drop them off a knife because the dummy forgot his, So you got to improvise. You got to be crafty in both arenas. I love it. Yeah.
Not only that, my compost bins are made from old pallets. Everything that I put on my homestead, I try to have multi-purposes so that I can use them for the next thing. And some people say that is hoarding. And then you have hoarders that are mess hoarders, or you have hoarders that are neat hoarders. But
yeah,
everything that I do, I try to have multi-purposes, and it's exactly the same thing for bushcrafting. You want to take stuff out there in the woods that has multi-purposes to it. If you're going to take an axe, you want to be able to carve with that axe. Right. You're going to want to be able to cut down some wood with it, and you're going to want to eat with it. So you got to make sure it's nice and sharp. We have everything in our packs that is multi-purpose.
Yeah. And I always tell folks that too, is don't take things out in the woods with you that you don't know how to use, because it's still worthless. I mean, it's just as worthless if you have it and don't know how to use it as it would be if you didn't have it. So learn how to use your equipment and how important it is, and let your mind go wild on how can I use that, for what different things can I apply this one item to, and you'd be amazed. We always preach that each item should have at least two purposes. Well, reaching two purposes isn't that hard on most items. But boy, if you start letting your mind work on it, you can come up. I've had items where I found 8 or 10 uses for them. So yeah, you got to open your mind when you're crafting, when you're bushcrafting.
Don't forget, guys, too, there's some awesome channels that are up in this chat on your free will here. If you open up tabs, however else, go and check them out, see what you like. And if you do, you know what to do. There's some great people in the chat right now. So if you're new to our podcast, new to Sty's channel, my channel, Tyler's channel, whoever's channel, go and check these guys out. They're all in there right now. You have a good opportunity to meet a bunch of new people.
Absolutely. And I just posted that link there, Nick, for you whenever you get a second. And looks like a good buddy, Jervis. Yeah, Jervis is sharing that out. I appreciate it. Definitely. So hopefully we can get him up here. I was in the middle of messaging. The thing with Nick is the way I have to send it to him. I don't think he has a Facebook, so I don't ever send it to that. So hopefully he got it. And he'll be coming on. And I do want to thank everyone too for coming in here and hanging out, listening to us, and everyone hitting that like button. I do appreciate it very much.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing this, Tyler. I think doing this is going to go a long ways. It's going to go a long ways, and the word will get out. And bushcrafters and homesteaders I think they're going to flock to it. They're going to start rolling in because it's.
Like I said, that's kind of what I wanted to be about. It's just kind of sharing our thoughts and our ideas. Because, like I said, none of us are, experts, and I don't think there's actually an expert when it comes to bushcrafting.
No.
It's just all about, having fun doing it, and
the thing that you got to remember too, Tyler, is that even if you can do the same thing the following year, and you won't get the same result. Same thing with homesteading. I can plant the exact same seed in the ground, and I'll get a different result.
Exactly. So hey, that goes for fire starting right there. I mean, I can go out and for 50 times strike a fire in 2 minutes, have her going. And then one time, the conditions are just something I've never experienced. And I'll be darned if I can get a fire going. And I go, and eventually you get your fire, but you're going, I've never had this kind of issue before. And you learn something all the time. Anybody that says, I'm a professional, if you're a professional, I would think that you're probably a caveman. I mean, where you've never experienced the softness of life. Because we are generally soft now, and we're relearning a lot of basics is what we're doing. Even the most advanced bushcrafting, in my mind, is still basic, because unless it becomes a lifestyle, it's easy to learn a skill and then you don't use it, and then when you need it, you go, I know that. I did that 5 years ago. And then you try it, you go, oh my gosh, I'm right back at square one. So,
well, see, that's the thing too, is when it comes to the whole practice thing too. Like I did a bow drill about 3 years ago. I was very good after like maybe the fourth or fifth time getting it going, and then I quit. I just didn't keep up practicing with it. And then when I got contacted to be on the show alone, they wanted to see some raw B footage of me showing primitive ways to create a fire. And I said, oh, I know how to do a bow drill. That's going to look real good. That's going to show them that I know what I'm doing out here. And I tell you what, I had the hardest time. It took about 3 hours to get that going.
That's it.
And then real quick too, he is in here. I want everyone to say hello to a good buddy of mine, Nicholas Green Outdoors.
Hey,
hello.
Nicholas. Hi.
I got it working. I had to go to Google again. I was on Safari, and I got to the link finally, and then it just wouldn't let me.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do that.
Absolutely. Like the difference between what me and Sty has to do here in the northern Wisconsin territory compared to someone that's in the southern areas is a big difference. And here shortly we're gonna try to merge the two, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and that's one thing too, is that's why I love this horn. Well, these two fellas up above me here, they're great. They're great because we've all had different experiences, and we have different preferences. We have different applications, and we can share all of that together. And the thing is everything in bushcrafting, you have to take ownership. You have to take ownership for it. So you have to find what works for you. Something that works for somebody else won't work for another person. I've seen outdoorsmen that I mean, those guys head out in the woods in 20 below weather with a bedroll, and they come out with a smile on their face. Well, these old hardcore old farts, they don't even know what the new gear is. You tell them, "Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? What's that?" But you look at those guys too. They got skin of leather. You know these guys. When you meet them, you shake their hand and you go, "Oh my gosh, I'm shaking hands with a tree root." These boys have been doing it their whole lives. They're weathered to it, and so it's a whole different. The environment affects them so differently than the rest of us, and that's the thing is just because somebody can show you what they do doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to replicate that just like them. You might have to add your own to it to make it so it's usable for yourself. That's why I always say show a person and then let them learn their way. That our way is not always the only way.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I love too is like your guys' channel. I learned so much through Sty. I know that me and Sty was talking the other day. I was going back and looking at some of his older videos, and let me tell you, I mean, there's good stuff on there. You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot just through watching a video. I know.
I feel bad though, Tyler. I feel kind of like the odd man out. You and Mark, yeah, I mean, you guys are young, you're healthy, you're stout, and you're out there doing what I used to do. I still go out there, but I baby myself a little more. If I'm going to do a 20-mile hike, that's a 2-dayer for me. That's an overnighter for a 20. And so can I still do the things I used to do? Yeah, but it's a heck of a lot slower. It's a lot slower, and I don't stay in as good a practice as I should anymore. And I can't get out in the field and do the videos I want to do and stuff. I'm hoping this summer that's going to change. But to sit here and people say, "Oh, yeah, we want to hear the wisdom of Sty and this, that." I'm no wiser than the rest of you. Anything I know, you can know without me. You can just go out there, get your hands dirty in bushcraft. And I mean, it's just like with homesteading. I've never grown a garden before. I need the wisdom of Mark. Well, the first wisdom I would give him is go buy some seed and a hoe and get out there and start breaking ground. And I guarantee you within a couple of seasons, you'll become quite the gardener. Yeah, because you have to fail a few times. You're going to have to go out there and figure out what works and what doesn't.
And you're going to fail. There's going to be things that won't turn out. We've all, even with bushcrafting, there's times, I'm going to be showing here in a little bit here I have a video coming up that's a huge fail, but it's also a learning experience, and I took away from it something that I was thinking I'm going to have no problem doing, and I failed at it. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a learning experience for somebody else. So there's a lot of information there. Exactly. Nick, you share this out?
Was it?
You shared this out? Did you hear
what
me?
On the? Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Thanks. Ooh, there's my camera.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah,
Nick, you.
I'm the only person in here with no beard. It's kind of stressful.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is I watched Nick's video when he took his buddy out there and he went camping and they were cold, and Nick's like in his cot in his sleep bag saying, "I think I'm gonna pull a pin," and he made it. And I was so happy that he made it.
It was so cold.
I just went through that and I had to pull a plug. I'm like, yeah, he made it. Okay, good deal. Because I know how that is myself.
Yeah, it wasn't meant for that weather at all.
I know that feeling. Anytime, guys, another good thing is check out your sleeping bags and see what that little tag says. If it says that it's only good for 20 degrees, don't use it outside in the cold weather. And make sure
unless, and I have to say, that's where Mark and I kind of differ, is unless you temperate your system for it, and you need to do that by start doing early spring camps, late fall camps. Don't do a winter camp right off if you've never done early spring and late fall camps. Don't jump right into a winter camp. That should not be your first experience, because you aren't experienced. So you go out where the low for the night might be 30 degrees, or it might be 40 degrees. Now you can use light gear, and you're not gonna die of hypothermia. I guarantee you. You're gonna move enough just to avoid hypothermia, and leave all your clothes on and just wrap yourself up in your sleeping bag. You'll live through it, but you get to taste that cold, and if you do that, and your body learns what those temperatures really are, and it doesn't have that traumatic effect on you. Then when you get thrown into the true winter camping, you don't even start to get cold until it hits 15 degrees to 0 degrees. So you're ahead of the game. I
think I jumped into it pretty badly.
See, that's the thing is I learned the hard way too, Nicholas. I jumped into crap. I'm going, I'm just an old Jeremiah Johnson. I'm jumping right into this. And I come out of the woods crying like a baby going, whoa, man, Mother Nature bit me in the butt.
See, right? I sleep in a room that's averagely, it's about 30 degrees.
Yeah,
all winter long. I got my window open. The problem that I had is that I was misjudging the size of a sleeping bag.
Yeah. So that was your biggest downfall, was this mini bag that you were trying to sleep in.
So when you got a sleeping bag that only comes up to about your chest, and its whole upper half is sticking out of it, and I'm thinking I'll just wing this one, and I'll take the blanket and I'll throw it over the top of me, and I've got my Carhartt, I'll just throw that over the top of me. Your heat's just escaping, and it's just going out. And that was my, but I did want to try something. I took a 3-season equipment and put it into the 4th season. So I knew right away, right from the beginning, that the stuff that I had was not set up for what it was made to do.
Right. See, and that's the thing. I like what Annihilator Airgun said. That number is the survivability temp, not the comfortable temp.
Right.
And I used to tell people all
it's
the time.
It's like how they rate the tents, how many people can fit in them.
That's Oh, tents. If they say it's a 6-man tent, you and I could go camping, Nicholas.
Yeah,
that's about enough room just for you and I. Yeah. See,
like the hot tent I got, thankfully it's rated right, because it says it holds 3, but I'm sure it could hold like 6 people. But at least they got it spaced out right.
Yeah.
Well, that one person tent that I had was about a half of a person for my size.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
For me, one of those 2-person tents is like the right size. Like, I don't know where they get their ratings from.
Well, this was a tent that's set up for mountain, and it's got a nice. It's a nice tent. It really is. But the problem of it is that I am 6'5". I'm bigger than.
Is it one of the slim ones?
Yeah, it is. It's only probably narrow front.
I think it's the same one
Oh.
we have.
I had a Cabela's Outfitters tent that was 12 by 14, and it had these pods that you could put off the sides. I could put 5 pods off of it, and I still have one of those pods. It's brand new. I haven't even set it up yet, but those pods were $300 a piece, and all they are is like a modified pup tent, and they're awesome. You can hang them from. You can take 2 trees and run a ridge line and start. And that's your starting point. Put this pod up in 10 minutes. They're awesome. But that Cabela's tent was a full hot tent, and they said that it was rated for 5. Well, that's because they figured all 5 people are going to sleep in those sleeping pods that are attached to it.
No.
You got 12 by 14 inside that tent. You got a little wood stove in there. I'm going... No, we can put 9 people in this thing. I mean, there was more tent than I could ever imagine. So when I set up my base camp and I moved into it and I was all alone in that thing, it was as big as my home, my sty shack. I was just like, my sty shack was 11 by 20 and this tent was 12 by 14 and I had 2 pods on it that were 4 foot wide, 4 foot high, and 8 feet long. So I was in heaven in a tent. I mean, that was the only tent I had ever bought where it actually exceeded the number that they said it was for,
The hot tent I got, I had the stove to where it was like, first I had it to where it was straight up, but then the wind kept blowing the pipe, so it kept tipping over the stove or whatever. So then I put it straight out with a 90, like a lot of people do in the snow, and it kept blowing the smoke back in. So then I finally got to the decision where I just put the stove in the center. So that got rid of one person's space, but it heats up. It's probably like 110 in there tonight. I had to get out of it. I'm not even joking.
Oh, wow.
It's like 50 out right now, so it got hot really quick.
Oh yeah.
So you definitely think that can hold up to the -20, -30 degree weather then, Nick?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be getting one of those canvas sleeping bags soon.
Tyler, read the chat. Texas Jungle.
What up, Tyler? Just got back from doing
armadillo and raccoon.
Raccoon roasted.
Return with diarrhea.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do those challenges, but I could never do it, ever.
I'll tell you what, I would have ate the coon, but not that armadillo. That's the ugliest little animal in the world.
I'd probably do the opposite.
Oh man, them armadillos freaked me out. I used to drive truck, and I used to spend a month every year down in Texas and New Mexico, and I had an armadillo try to crawl in the sleeping bag with me one time, and I woke up in that thing. I saw his butt sticking out of my sleeping bag, and that freaked me right because they'll claw the heck out of you.
Are they like a possum?
But they're armored.
Where are they like? I mean, what would they be like closest to?
They look like a prehistoric mouse with armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they got big nasty claws on their front feet for digging. And I found out that if you give them a smack, they'll roll up. And then if you leave them alone for a little bit, then they'll pop back out and start running. But I don't like them things. They're scary looking. To eat, I mean, that's one of those animals where I want to meet the first person that ate one and ask them, were you starving? You must have been. I would eat one if I was starving to death, but to want to eat an armadillo, no. This old guy don't want to. He don't want to. I'd rather deep fry some tarantulas than eat an armadillo.
See, I'll do everything but a snake. I don't like snakes at all.
Oh, snake is good.
Yeah, I heard some of it's good.
I've eaten so much snake over the years. Over in Minnesota, we would get we had spots in Minnesota where you find timber rattlers and oh man, I try to get myself 4 or 5 of them and clean them up. And
Did they all just taste the same?
Rattlesnake.
Yeah, a
is
snake is a snake is a snake.
Yeah.
But
Gardner
you don't want to eat
Spicy
little.
snake.
You don't want to eat little snakes. You want to get a good fatty.
Just get a pot of gardener snakes and boil them.
Oh, that's no. I wouldn't. No, garter snake spaghetti.
That's a good wilderness challenge.
But I like to take rattlesnake and some garlic salt and some cayenne pepper on them, and then grill them over the fire.
Does the meat just peel right out from the bones?
No, they're kind of tough.
Oh,
They're chewy. They're chewy. I've had a couple they were smaller rattlers that we deep fried, and it actually cooked the bones enough where you could just grab it and eat the bones too. But I'm leery of snake bones because they just remind me of the rib bones on a fish. You get one of them caught in your throat. That's
a Y bone.
Yeah, like a Y bone in a northern pike.
Oh.
Just like eating gator.
Yeah. Oh, I love gator too. Oh, gator's great.
It is.
I haven't had a lot of different meat just yet. I mean, sure I will, but
If you ever get a chance, Nicholas, the best thing that I've ever had out in the woods, and that's on an open fire. And up here, they're protected now. But porcupine is called the poor man's prime rib or woodsman's prime rib. It is
that's probably why they got all those quills.
Don't eat me.
You can do with a porcupine is you flip them over in the belly and you just skin them.
Yeah.
And then you don't got to worry about any of that stuff.
I've skinned out porcupines. I just put a pair of leather gloves on and do just that. Roll them over with a stick, and you can slit them right up the belly, and then you can just take and pull it over and start, because they don't have quills down their belly.
Nope.
And so that you got a strip there that you can actually handle. But what I always did, the porcupines I've harvested, I always had a gunny sack close by or an old jacket, and I take the porcupine and lay them down, spread eagle, and then I take that burlap sack, throw it on top of him, and give it a yank towards his head, then yank that sack back off, and it's just like using hair remover. You pull all the quills off.
Oh yeah.
No.
And
That's a good idea.
And actually, there's multi-purposes too, guys, because you can use the quills. You can make darts out of the quills, and the intestines and stuff from that is considered bait. So every part of the porcupine can be used from. And
absolutely.
So any kind of animal that you harvest, remember that. You can use every bit of that, especially if you want to do deadfall traps, if you want to do snares, any of that kind of stuff, you can use that to get what you're looking for.
I think I got to order some porcupine quills, or else find a porky that's wandering where nobody's watching. I'll just take a bag after them and get some quills off of them. But back in the days when it didn't have video at all, I didn't even have an old VHS video player at the time. But my ex-wife did a lot of Native American quill work. She would make pipe bags and breastplates and stuff. But I took some of her quills one time, and I was out camping, and I fell and straddled a old fir tree that had fallen, and I broke off about 10 branches and ripped a hole in my pants about 12 inches long, and I didn't have a sewing kit with. Well, I got smart. I had fishing line, and I thought, well, but now what am I going to use for a needle? And then I remembered I had a tin of porcupine quills, and I made a needle with porcupine quill and stitched them pants up better than I could have with a regular needle.
And you can go take some reeds, and they make an awesome blowgun dart.
Yes, they do.
For those that are smokers, you just take your filter, put it in there,
fluff it up.
Yep. You got an awesome blowgun dart, and they will penetrate and they will kill. That's the other thing. So there's multiple purposes for everything that's out there. Everything out in the woods is usable.
Right. You don't ever want to.
This may be a dumb question, but Are the
Go ahead.
quills solid for a porcupine?
Is there
'Cause
what?
I know, are like the quills completely solid all the way up to the end? Or are
The
they
quills,
hollow?
they usually have them down the top of their head, and then from their shoulders all the way out to the tip of their tail.
No, he's asking if the quill itself is solid. If the quill, the needle portion of it,
Like a straw, or
See, people
Is it-
don't realize that the quill, the pointy quill that will stick in you, is actually a hair, and they'll pull out of the hair follicle. So and porcupines cannot throw their quills. That's an old wives' tale.
Yeah.
Porcupine will shake his tail at you and throw quills
Yeah.
at you. No, that's a wives' tale. They can't throw their quills. But all it takes is a light touch, and those quills will come out of the follicle, and they'll be stuck in you.
they're like Nicholas. They're like a hair. So if you look at it, if you have an inner tube and an outer tube,
Yeah.
and that's how they work.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And
they are hollow on the inside of the quill. Then there's just
the thing is, keep this in mind: quills are hollow, but, and I had to do it for my ex-wife so often, because when she does quill work, she'll take the quill, put it in her mouth, and she sucks on it, right? And the thing is it makes them soft, so they're pliable. Every once in a while, she'd hit her tongue or catch a lip, and she'd be, and she'd have a dang quill sticking out of her mouth. And she's pulling on it. I mean, it's yanking her lip way out from her face, and she's going, it won't come out. And I tell her, calm down. And I take a fingernail clipper, go and clip the end of the quill. It pulls right out. It's because they're hollow, but they're airtight. They're airtight. I don't know if any of you know, but porcupines swim like bandits, man. They float. Porcupines don't sink. Their quills are completely airtight, but they're hollow. That's something a lot of folks don't know about them. And if you get quills embedded deep, just cut the end of it off, and then you can squeeze it, and it flattens out, and it'll pull out it takes half the effort.
They're barbed too. Yeah.
Do they have like the plates of like calcium like all the way down inside of it, or is it just completely hollow?
It's hollow from only about a quarter to
I was gonna say about an
inch of the tip is not hollow. The rest of it's hollow all the way through. And oddly enough, a quill is basically the same
as your fingernail
material as fingernails. And they soften up with water. They soften up. So that's why the wife would suck on them to soften them up, to work with them. And
there's so many things out outside that you can use things for different purposes, multi-purpose tools.
Oh yeah.
That's how we get the whole idea. So you can go to your store, you buy a multi-tool. It's got multiple purposes. Same thing with going out and getting an animal, or if you're building a bowl, if you're going to burn a bowl in, making like a spork, which Tyler, we got to try to do that this year, because actually my last spork didn't turn out too well because it didn't look like a spoon. It didn't look like a fork, but it was usable.
Yeah.
So I want to do a new one.
I got to grab something, guys. I'll be right back.
I wonder if a quill could hold up a fishing line. Probably not.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's
same thing too.
I'm sure you could probably find.
You take a bird, you take a quail, a grouse, or anything like that. It's great for making flies. You can use them for fishing. There's multi-purposes to everything. Right.
The more you can reuse something, the better off you're going to be. It's going to make life a lot easier out there.
I was going to do... go ahead.
So I knew you was talking about wanting to get into more of the bushcrafting side of things.
Yeah.
I had to go grab this. This is my carving kit. I like to sit around and whittle and camp, and I've gotten smart over the years. Safety gloves. Yeah, I just can't afford the stitches anymore.
I'm terrible at carving. I got one thing. It looks terrible.
These are my two babies here. This one sits on my hip, and this one's reserved for special jobs. This one I carry in my pocket, and this one's an old timer carver, and it's got a total of 6 blades to it. And the one that I like using the most in camp, of course,
can't find it,
is that shovel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And for making spoons, bowls, anything of that nature, that puppy is sweet.
I gotta get one because mine is like it has all of them in one. So I think there's like 14 tools, but they got the big handles, they got the spoons in there, and they have the files, the carvers.
See, I got this old timer because I actually bought that old timer. I think I paid $25.
That's my favorite brand.
I paid $25 for it. Love it, right? Then I got brave and decided to spend $135, and I bought this carving jack. Okay, made by Flex Cut. Old timers no longer made in the USA. That's disappointing. Flex Cut is made in the USA. Now I had to sharpen my old timer when I got it because it would cut, but it wasn't good. But I'll tell you what, this Flex Cut, the old timer, the blades don't lock in place, and when you're using these individual little tools, sometimes you get rollovers. You got to watch your fingers. That's why I bought the gloves. But the Flex Cuts, they lock right into place. And the Flex Cut has got the best for making spoons and bowls. That's a big bugger there.
Mm-hmm.
And this one also has a total of 6 blades in it. And it locks in place, but it was $130, but this bugger, I can whittle a spoon out in about 15 minutes.
Oh,
That's how sharp this puppy is, and it'll gouge out a spoon so fast. I'll find me a basswood, or I've used willow, all kinds of softwoods, and like I said, 15 minutes. And I've got myself a spoon or a spork, and I don't go anywhere without this little bugger. No more big bushcraft knife for making spoons and stuff anymore. I like using a hatchet to rough shape it, get it down to down to a rough spoon, and then use this to finish it up. And you can gouge it out so nice. And my spoons, I'll tell you what, your last spork, Mark, looked like a pro did it compared to most of my old ones. I usually ended up with just a kind of flat stick and drank the juices out of the pot because I never could make a spoon enough to actually use it to eat soup.
One of the biggest things that I don't know if Tyler and Nicholas have basswood or any of that other stuff like we got for the really soft woods.
Yeah,
but I like to use cedar, and I'll take some neem oil with me, and I'll take that, or not neem oil. What do you call that stuff? I'm thinking neem oil because it's spraying the trees with it. But it's an oil, and it actually, when you finish them off, it works really well. Anybody in chat that knows what I'm talking about, that oil, you can eat with it, do whatever. But what's really cool with a cedar, if most people don't realize, is that if you're burning in a bowl, you're taking a hot rock in and out of the fire and you're dropping it in a chunk of wood. And then when it starts to ash out, you just keep carving it out. Right. Well, cedar will burn so much faster.
So much faster.
Where most people take 2 or 3 days to make a bowl, we can do that within maybe a day, have it all carved up.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a big difference, too. By knowing your wood species, cedar is a big push for us because it's usable, and we can burn quick with it.
Yeah. Annihilator. Yeah. Flex Cut is the brand. That's the company, Flex Cut. And this is a carving jack with it's made specifically for whittling and carving. That's what this knife is made for. And I've seen people using this knife to cut cordage and do other things. But no. That's this knife. It's got 6 blades that you can do endless carving projects with. Like if you want to, I'll make toggles when I make a tarp shelter. If I'm making a pyramid style tarp shelter and I want the doors, I want the front to close, I'll just make paracord loops, and I make toggles. I'll just take a piece of dead pine and I'll cut off 1.5 inch pieces, take that carver, and I can cut a channel through around that dowel and tie that right in that channel. When I'm making snares, channels you won't need to cut to hold line. That's what it's for.
I wasn't thinking. I should have made a toggle. In my one camp video I just posted, I cut like a little hole in the tarp I had to put a string through. Because I
saw that.
Wasn't thinking. After it did annoy me. It did annoy me after. It really annoyed me.
But you learned, didn't you?
Yeah. And on old timer, because I did trap a lot, I have an old one, and it's the best skinner knife I've ever used. Is old timer.
Yes.
A Coyote. It was my first one. It took me like 30 minutes. I know that's a long time, but I tried the other knife. It wouldn't cut it because they're tough. Yep. And that one, it just slid right down.
See, I had the old timer that if you put it right next to it, it looked just like a Buck 110. But it was an old timer, and it was U.S. made at the time.
Wow. That's probably hard to get now.
And I can't find one. I want to replace it. I want an original, one that was U.S. made, because I had the same experience. And that's the knife I carried on my trap line with me all the time.
I think it's literally a skinning knife, isn't it? They sell. It's got like that weird shape.
Oh yeah, you can get that. Doggone it, that's out in my trailer. I was gonna say I'll go grab mine. I got an old timer Skinner with that's got the gut hook on it also.
Oh man!
And I have that mounted to the outside of my machete, and because when I was out trapping, I used the machete a lot to cut snare stakes and other things, and so I figured I'll just strap that skinning knife right to my machete, and that little old timer. Oh, even though it's small, man, yeah. I actually field dressed an elk with that little old timer, a stinking.
They just cut right through,
and I was able to cut right through that elk's breastbone with that knife. Plow right through the breastbone with that bugger. That's how sharp it was. But it's got such it's a really hefty, thick blade at the top.
Yeah, it's one of those brands you want to get the old ones. Like you said, it's in China now, but the old ones. I mean, my grandpa has one.
They're sweet. They'll
like 60 years old, and it's still strong.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you've got an original old timer, it might look a little tarnished. It might have some patina on it or something, but it's probably in the same shape it was when they bought it. Them buggers hold up. Oh my gosh! See, that's the thing is I kind of hate being my age, because back in the day, everything was good. Everything was good. You could go. That's like everybody loves Swiss Army knives. I tell you what, the Swiss Army knives of today, even though they're made by the same, they're still Swiss Army knives. But I assure you, they're not as good as they were back in the 60s.
Right.
Tyler
like a lot of tomahawks.
Tyler found my axe, Sty.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You see that thing?
Yeah. I didn't want to see it. He's showing it off. He's right up to the camera with that axe head, and I'm like, drop it on your foot, please.
There's one I want to get. It's a Hudson's Bay axe. It goes on eBay for like $120, but I I think I'm gonna buy it because they all say it's the best one. It's got like this weird shape. I don't know. It's got this weird shape to it, and they said it's like one of the best ones. It's from like the 60s. It's by the same company that makes like the wool blankets then.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But I was thinking about getting that.
See, my problem is that
Pendleton.
Yeah.
as big as I am when I swing an axe, that axe that Tyler's got, I think the handle, would you say, was 4 foot long?
Yeah, about 4 foot long, 5 foot head on it, or 5
pound hand on it.
Pounder. Yeah. Oh, you can split some wood with that puppy, boy. And felling trees with an axe like that, yeah.
Right. It's like I said, it's a Collins axe. I picked it up for $30.
That's just wrong.
Outdoors are gone. Like I said, it's a 5 pound axe head. It's roughly 3 to 4 feet long, and I got it for $30. And the head alone that I seen floating on eBay and Amazon go for roughly $400 to $500 in worse condition than what I got it for. So it was a huge deal for me. So I was very pleased with it.
Well, that's the thing with that axe. One thing that with throwing an axe, especially up here, is that you want the weight behind you because it's going to carry through the tree, and it takes less effort because you want to be sitting there hacking and chopping and doing all that stuff because you're burning calories, burning energy. So yeah, it's a heavier axe, it's a bigger axe, but you're going to get 3 times the amount of work done out of it.
That's the one I got right now.
That axe, Tyler, that's my granddad used to call those slicers. They're heavy. You're not going to damage the blade felling trees, but they still slice. They don't chop. They slice it. And you're taking off nice big chunks of meat with every swing. And that's an axe where you coordinate your swings, and before long, your tree's on the ground. That's a sweet axe head. What you got there, Nicholas?
This is the one I got right now. I think it was like $50 at Phil and Stream. It's a CRKT. It's a wood chogan or choggin. I don't know how you say that, but that's what I have right now. Is that? Yeah. But the other one, it's like this big bulky one. You can just split through a whole stump with it, and it's real short too. But this one, I don't know. It just seems a little. I don't know, something about it.
See,
I'll be upgrading soon.
See that?
The first axe that I bought was a trooper axe that I got at a local Tyson's. It was a 2.5 pound axe. I think it was roughly 56 inches, and it did good. It was a good axe. I just wanted it to downsize something I can carry in my pack. So that's what led me to the Gransford Brooks small forest axe. And I love that axe because it's super sharp. I could probably shave my head if I wanted to with it. But it does make for a lot more work. And then when I bought this Collins axe, I tell you what, it is so much nicer because I am not doing nearly the amount of work with it.
I got an owl call.
Is you can take that axe like what Nicholas just had. So if you got like a silky saw or something like that where you're going to cut up some chunks of wood, you stick that axe dead center to center and just give a little twist like this, and you're splitting your kinder, and it's done. So that's what those axes that you just had, Nick, that's what them are good for.
Okay.
They're so quick and so fast. So if you want to split firewood or something like that, take your saw, you cut it up, and you just right in the center of that, and just give it a twist. They'll pop, and you're moving on to the next one.
All right. Yeah, I'm not too. I don't know too much about like axes and stuff, so anything helps.
No, it's not a problem. Like I said, we all had to start somewhere. No one was born a professional outdoorsman.
Nick, what I did is I just studied Sty for hours and hours.
Oh, cut it out, man. I mean, well, actually, I like when we can chat because then I can tell you about my failures, instead of watching my videos where I don't show a lot of my failures.
I feel like you secretly know how much power you know.
See, the thing Nicholas, we started exactly the same time. So our YouTube
Yep.
channel. So actually, we're doing like me and Tyler, and like you and Tyler do. So we'd be talking every day, or I'd be texting.
Yeah.
I do, you know, and
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, wow.
the same
Did you see that? I got 3 subs this last month.
So
Oh, those were the days.
that was funny. And then he'd be out, and the funny thing is he's sitting there, and he's got. I was always afraid to show my shotgun because we live. You know, I got wolves, I got everything up here. And the one day I'm watching one of his videos, and there's his shotgun sitting right there.
My
Right next-
Mossberg 500 sitting there right there.
And I'm like, hey, he can do it, I can do it.
Oh, you're darn right. You're not. Well, those videos were during spring bear season. You know, they're undenning and they're out with cubs. And I was carrying that Mossberg 500 with me everywhere I went. And I had clients at that time too, and so I wanted to make sure I had that Mossberg with in case I had a dumb client that didn't know how to deal with a bear and started a fight with one or something. You know? But yeah, and I'll never forget it that I was at the lean-to and I had that bugger hanging from the lean-to, and I got messages from people going, "Oh, you know, YouTube don't like guns and this and that." I said, "Oh, shut up! I don't care. You know, if they're going to shut me down because I got my Mossberg with me." And then I always carried that little 22 auto hanging from the front of my belt. You know, I put out snares and traps, and if I come on a critter, he's still alive. That little 22 auto was perfect. Pop, but I carried it with me all the time.
22 is a perfect trapping gun.
Oh yeah. I had well, it's the worst gun in the world. No, don't anybody go buy one. Please don't. They're dangerous. You'll hurt yourself. But a Jennings 22. I've got a little J22. It's made by Jennings. They're a cheap pocket pistol is what they are. They're dangerous because it's got a safety on it, right? Well, it's got a free floating fire pin in it. Drop it on the ground unsafe once. You're going to get a 22 round in your butt cheek. It will go off if you drop that gun. So you got to know how to handle it. Plus, they jam like a devil. You don't want one. They jam like a devil. Unless you own a bunch of jeweler's tools and a nice big magnifying glass, and you know how to sear down the ejector on it. And there's a couple of spots in the receiver you got to file off and modify. Then it becomes I can pump 200 rounds through it and never get a jam in it. But brand new, the stinking things you might get 5 rounds through and it'll stovepipe around, or it'll walk one up, nose it up, and But that 22, I got that for trapping because it's the sweetest little gun when you're out trapping.
Yeah.
A 410.
I don't know if, not to get off topic or anything, but I don't know if anyone's seen my community tab post today. I did add a new member to my family. I adopted a full breed Alaskan Husky.
Sweet.
So,
sweet. Oh, I love the Huskies. Love the Huskies.
Oh yeah, he's been a handful already. So.
Is he? How old is he?
Yeah. He is 4 years old.
4?
Yep. But no, he's pretty nice. He's pretty chill, laid back. There's gonna be a lot of training for him for that, but I'm pretty excited because even though I do always carry a gun with me every time I go out camping or anything like that, or I'm in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to have that little added security as a. Yep.
Whenever I start going a lot, I'll get a dog.
Yeah, a mascot like that, it oddly enough, it can be a little dog, it can be a big dog, any dog in camp. They let you know when something's wrong, and just the value of that extra set of ears that are so much better than your own, and that nose, and they'll let you know if something's there, and as the dog becomes attached to you, it's amazing how often the dog will put itself between you and something of harm,
Yeah.
Right. Wood Pigeon Outdoors says, to the panel, hatches or axes in your opinion? I'm going to go with an axe, just for the simple fact that a lot of the axes nowadays are getting smaller and smaller, what it seems like. So there's not much of a difference compared to like something as far as my Gransford Brooks small forest axe to any of the hatches that are out there.
I'm a hatchet guy, even though I don't know much at all. Like on the trap line, like cutting steaks and everything, you can just chop away.
Right.
Even though I don't know much, I use the hatchet all the time.
See, I only have an axe with me if I'm going to have a base camp. Otherwise, I don't carry an axe. I just carry a small hatchet, and it's a thin blade hatchet. I'm not like a lot of guys. I do not cut firewood. I prepare firewood, but I don't cut firewood. I find myself nice, healthy hardwood trees, and I bust all my firewood. I don't go out and collect firewood that I got to split. No, I ain't doing it. And I'll put up a week's worth of firewood in half a day. And I go into camps, and these guys are out there with their saws, and they're cutting, and then they're splitting, and they're stacking. And I'm just like, have fun, because I ain't doing that.
It doesn't matter.
I'll go out
like,
there and drag all this dead wood.
What the ends look like.
Yeah, they got the nice clean cut ends, and that ain't my fireplace. I want to cook on this, and I want to warm up on it. I don't care what the wood looks like.
I just want the biggest pile I can get.
Yeah, I did. To me, it's quantity. I want to be able to get as much up as I can as quick as possible. And it's not that I don't like having an axe. Like I said, for base camp, if I'm stuck in base camp, well, then I'm willing to go out and saw some bigger wood and split it and stack it up and just keep building, in base camp to have reserves. But if I'm hiking somewhere, I'm not cutting firewood. I'm breaking it up.
I'm definitely with Waypoint Outdoors. He says, I definitely use an axe more. Small stuff you can baton with a fixed blade knife. I find that more versatile. And absolutely, I agree. You get yourself a nice thick knife.
One of the things that while Sty's up here talking about preparing for cold weather in the wintertime, and the amount of wood you burn differs in the cold environment than it does in less of a colder climate. We lose twice the amount of heat, so we're burning 3 times the amount of wood. So if a normal person on a normal camp out would go and split wood for 2 hours in a 30, 40, 50 degree environment, that might last you 3/4 of the night. Or us, we could burn that in an hour.
Right. See, and I'm a firm believer in the winter. You're not going to catch me with a conventional fire pit. Ain't happening if I'm winter camping. I burn long fires. I do not. If my fire isn't at least 3 feet long, it ain't a fire. I usually prefer to go with about a 4 to 5 foot log. And I don't do like these guys. They show, 2 logs and tinder down the center and get them going. They burn from the center. Those dang things don't produce no dang heat. I pyramid my logs. I usually go 3, 2, and 1 on my long fire, and that bugger will burn. I'll get it going by 9 o'clock at night, and it'll burn till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I flip the ends in, and it'll burn until breakfast. Keeps me warm all night, and it's a whole different world, isn't it, Mark? When you start dealing with that cold, and you start realizing, God, if I got to put that much firewood up. Now you think of it, if you cut a log 5 feet long, for a campfire, that's 4 to 5 pieces of firewood you'd have to cut. But you only cut that one piece. So you're really saving a lot of your caloric effort by going with long fires. You're not burning up your body's fuel to give you heat fuel.
The other thing, too, is making heat shields. They are very important.
Yeah. having a
Not
fire
only
back is important.
not only does that help to bounce the heat back at you, but as everybody's been at a campsite and you're sitting around a fire and that smoke is in your face, there's
It's
a
gone.
reason for that.
Yep.
Because the environment around that fire is cold, so it's finding its way. But if you keep that whole area warm like that, the smoke goes straight up and it keeps it out of your lean-tos. It keeps it out of everywhere. So heat shields are very important.
See, people don't realize their body's putting off some heat. It's bitter cold out, and you're sitting there. You're not doing anything, but your body's actually putting off heat, and you can't see it. But there's a dramatic updraft from your body in that cold temperature. You put a back, a fire back or a reflector behind your fire, and you want it close. I see guys building them way far away from their fires. You want it close up to your fire pit. It heats those logs up. Those logs, and the heat in the logs is radiating back at you. That's the heat you're getting back, is you're warming those logs up, and so and they create their own environment. And there's a hot updraft coming off of the front of that. But if you don't have it, that fire wants the easiest route up. Well, if your body's putting off heat, there it is. It heads right for you, because that's the easiest way for that heat to rise, is to follow other heat that's rising. That fire shield becomes the best bet for that smoke, and it heads right for it, and you don't get it in your face. And
Well, see, I was lied to then, because I was always told beauty attracts smoke, and I would always get hit in the face with that smoke. But
right, well, if you don't want to ruin your reputation, Tyler,
I've always
forget the backdrop.
I've always built a backdrop, but it's kind of like, because I've seen videos, on YouTube where people put backdrops. It's like, reflects the heat. So I've always made them, even when it's hot out, just because it's kind of like a video thing for me. Well, I didn't really know that the smoke was.
See, the reason for that backdrop, over 60% of that reason is to get rid of the smoke. 40% of it is the marginal benefit of returned heat you get off of it, because they don't provide a lot of return heat. They do provide some, so that's still beneficial. So you're getting two benefits out of the deal. You're getting the heat, some heat off of it, plus it's getting all the smoke away from you.
You want to do something and you want to double that, is all you got to do is put your heat shield up and put Mylar on the backside of your lean-to on the roof, coming down, and all that heat will hit that Mylar and come bounce right back on you.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like Nick was saying, is that we, as some people that just kind of got into stuff, or just doesn't really kind of think about that kind of stuff. It's nice to hear and talk about that, because if someone that isn't really into the whole outdoors in the beginning and they watch that kind of stuff, they don't really know why they're doing it, so that's why it's so important to talk and discuss. I mean, even if it,
or like one little part of it, and then you don't know like a lot of it.
If you had three things that you were going to take out into the woods, the main things that I would be taking out is some way to make a fire. Number two is I could take a wool blanket and my tarp, but I'd have the last thing that I would have would be a Mylar blanket, because that's all I'm going to need, because all that's, you could lay your wool blanket down on the ground and you put your Mylar on the top of that tarp. It's going to come back down and it's going to hit you. And there's a lot of tarps out there now that actually have the Mylar reflective on the other side of them.
That's why I wish I had some gear in here. I've got, like you, Mark, that you had that big Mylar kind of quilt deal. I've got one that's made by UST, and I can't remember what it is. It's like 7 by 7 feet, and it's heavy, and it's bright orange on the back and Mylar on the front. But I'll put that inside of a lean-to, even if it's just a tarp lean-to that I've made. I'll put that inside so that heat will reflect off that Mylar back. Yep. And I've sat on a raised bed in a lean-to with that thing hanging in the back in front of my fire and I start taking my coat off, full open front lean-to, and it's maybe 5-6 degrees out, and I'm taking my coat off because my back is too hot, and realize I'm starting to sweat. All that heat from that fire is reflecting right off that Mylar onto my back. The front of me feels a little chilly because there's air moving around. The back is cooking.
Here's a perfect example of what we're talking about, Nicholas. If you look at the shelter on the backside, there's a Mylar and there's my sleeping bag.
Let me go ahead and zoom in here.
Yep.
Yeah,
I noticed Joe Robinette does that all the time to reflect that.
Yeah.
Because
and like you can see me, I'm out there in a sweatshirt. I don't have a big jacket on or nothing. So that's why it like Sty said, the long fire is so important. But people do make
huge
mistakes.
thing just comes back.
Yep. The long fire will actually help you because number one, if anybody hasn't noticed, but at 2-3 in the morning, you really don't want to crawl out of your rack to go stoke the fire because you're getting cold. That really sucks.
Yep. I would cut a nice long stick with a Y on the end. That would reach from my bunk to the fire. And when the middle would burn out of the long fire, I could take that and flip the logs from the ends into the middle without ever leaving my bunk.
That is the worst because when it's 20, 30 below and you got to crawl out of your sleeping bag because you got to go stoke up the fire, it sucks.
Yeah, so, especially you're trying to put boots on and you're not going to totally suit up. You just want to get out there quick, do the fire, and get back in the rack. And then by the time you get back in your rack, you get out of your boots and slide back into the bedroll. You're going, oh, man, the bedroll cooled off while I was gone. Or you reheat your bedroll.
One thing that I do in the wintertime, too, that I pack up is I'll put an extra set of liners that I would have in my boots because I can put them on and not have to tie up my whole boots. I'll just slip my liners on. I can go walk around camp if I got to use the outhouse or the latrine or however you want to say it. I just got my liners on and get back in there, slip them off, put it back under hook. I'm good to go. I didn't have to tie my boots up, put all that stuff on. I'm just out and back in.
Yeah, the liners, extra pair of liners, use them as camp slippers.
Yep.
But I got tired of, messing up the bottoms of my liners, and I'd have to hang them on the outside of my pack for them to dry while I'm hiking the next day and stuff. And I found out the hard way. Yeah, when you're winter camping, if you're going to wear a pair of liners as camp slippers to just run out and do your duty and come back, that's bushcrafting. You try to be crafty. Well, I usually have 2 or 3 13-gallon garbage bags in my pack. And I thought, well, I'm going to put a garbage bag over each one of them so that they don't get wet. I walked out of my lean-to and whoa, boom, flat on my butt right there in front of the fire pit. Those garbage bags are really slippery on snow. They don't work. Yeah, you're better off. Yeah, just.
What do you think of those cheap reflectors everyone gets, like the metallic
space
ones,
blankets?
like $1?
Space blankets?
Yeah, the space blankets.
Yeah, I always have 6 of them in my backpack.
That's what's on that back one right there.
Every time I use them, they just rip. They're
throwaways. They're throwaways.
Yeah.
But that's all you need to put inside your shelter behind you to reflect the heat you need off of that for your stay, Usually they'll last one camping, And
Nick, if you want to do it so they don't rip, take a handful of pebbles that are probably a quarter size. And then on your corners, you take your 550 cord or whatever, and you put that rock in there and make yourself a little bubble, and then you can tie around it, and you can tie it into any corner that you want to, and it's going to grab onto that rock,
and it makes it
tight,
and it'll make it nice and stiff, so that it's not flopping around,
thrown it everywhere.
Yeah, yep. Because if you can get that panel nice and stiff, unless you really poke it, you won't poke holes in it. It'll hold up. Yeah. Sty, I use a pee bottle. Actually, I do too. And I had a couple of people the other night in the stream freaking out because I told them, I'll take I'll head out on a hike, and I might plan 3 days or 6 days. But the very first thing I do, the first 6 miles of my hike, is I drink a big bottle of Gatorade during the hike. Well, it's empty by the time I camp that night. But guess what? It's not empty every morning for the rest of the trip.
And not only that, is you can
I
use
take
it
that
for
bugger
where.
right in the sleeping bag with me.
Yep.
When you got to go pee, you pee in that thing. Make sure the cap's on good. Slide that bugger in your sleeping bag. Kick it down by your feet. Oh, my gosh. Warms your feet right up. And it never gets cold again. It's because it maintains your body heat from inside the sleeping bag, bedroll. And then every time you get another a nice warm water jug down there.
I think like heating in like the sleeping bag. I have one of those Nalgene bottles. It was sent to me in fan mail, and I love that thing. But they said to put water in it and then put it down into your hammock. I was wondering if you could put like a hot rock in there, not too hot, but like a little one.
I've slept with rocks before. Earlier, who was it? Somebody was talking about. We were talking about, reflectors, fire reflectors, and somebody had mentioned just like a keystone in your fire pit. Now, if I'm in an area where I've got slate and I can get a nice big flat stone, I'll put a keystone in because that plus a reflector, and that keystone reflects heat back
and it absorbs.
It builds heat. And I've had nights where I've hauled that. I've taken a big stick and rolled that keystone and shoved it underneath an elevated bushcraft bed, a raised bed. Shove it underneath there, and that heat would come up through that bed.
And actually, Nicholas, the super shelter right behind me, that's exactly how I got that built. Is I can actually shove rocks out of the fire pit
under there,
and I put it underneath there at nighttime, so they radiate up all through the night.
Oh yeah.
I've been experimenting with them because I don't know. I think that's the best thing to do is just to, get like the base idea and then just do whatever. But I had like this cup, and then I just put them in there, and I just used it as a hand warmer because I couldn't feel my hands.
Oh,
but that rock was hot for like hours.
Oh yeah,
like 2 hours. It was just hot, and it never cooled down.
Yeah, it takes about an hour, a little more than an hour, just to bring those rocks to temp. And the odd thing is they'll hold the temp longer than it takes to put the temp into them. So you've got a couple hours with those hot rocks at least. Mm-hmm. And the thing is if you got nice clean, and what I'll do is I'll set nice smooth stones on top of my fire pit around the rim, so they're not covered with soot, they're not laying in ashes, and just let them heat up until I'm ready to go to bed. And then I'll throw those in my bedroll along the side. I'll have like 4 of them. I crawl in there and I'm just toasty warm, and I fall asleep quick because I'm so toasty warm. And then I'll wake up literally hours later and realize I'm cool, but I'm not cold. And I'll touch those rocks, and those rocks are body temp.
Yeah.
Because they don't cool completely off because you've made it warm inside that sleeping unit. So the rocks are maintaining that air temp inside your sleeping unit. So yeah, it's, and they've been doing that for centuries. I mean, the old pioneers did it all the time.
Wonder if someone could make a bushcraft steam house.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I had one that looked just like that one. His name was Roger. I had sled dogs for 4 years. Yeah, I had a big dog kennel.
A true breed Alaskan Husky, and his name is Duke.
Cool, buddy.
Yep. He's just over here hanging out.
Where'd you get those pelts from behind you, Tyler?
Oh, those?
I see a couple of gray fox.
You'll see those in my next video there, Nick.
Yeah, I got those off of Amazon.
Looks like all gray fox on the side.
Yeah, it does look
like. Let me look here. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and Oh, it's a little out of reach.
Half your head's gone.
Oh, CGI, everything's CGI. You got me. Yeah, this was crazy setting all this up too. My poor laptop. I've got an old
I'm dreading doing it.
I have a 2005 HP. Like it's got an i3. It's nothing special. Base model you can get. You can probably pick this laptop up for like $20 now. And I'm pushing it to its limits. Let me tell you, I think this thing might be smoking.
See, the thing of it is I don't have any problem doing any of this stuff because my system, like I was telling Tyler today, is you have to have a streaming system and then you have to have a system for doing everything else. And the difference is that the hard things that you saw today where your computer was just like overloading and brain frying and everything like that, when you get the big systems, you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah. That's definitely on the list for next thing I want to get. Like I said, the other day over the weekend, I was out with family down south, and we did our Christmas down there, and I got a dehydrator. So I'm going to be having some videos on dehydration meals, stuff for camping, hiking, along those lines.
Great.
And of course, jerky. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Here you go, Tyler. So this is the newest thing for this whole setup.
Oh, there it is.
Mom come in and a bunch of cats come in.
Yeah.
There they are.
GoPro case.
And 2 4K cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark is.
I could have as much as I need, like for like the streaming, but my internet is just the worst thing I've ever used ever.
That's easy to fix because you lie to the stream and you lie to YouTube what you're actually using, so that if you have a decent computer and a graphics card that can kick it out, we lie to the rest and it doesn't even see. That's like right now I'm using a satellite to live stream right now, so I got 20 up and 20 down. That's all I got.
Yeah. HughesNet?
No, I'm using Serenity.
Serenity?
Yep.
Yeah,
And
Hughes was the same way. 20 was the best I could get.
And people are just floored of how seamless my stuff looks because my computer can do a lot more than what my internet coming in can do. So I just use my graphics card, and the rest of it I just set it up through YouTube and whatever streaming software you're using, and this is what you get.
Doesn't put all that demand on the bandwidth.
Yep.
You're doing all the work on your end, so that it's just a stream. It's just a stream going through.
Like when Tyler and me were talking, he was over, what was it, 100% that one night, Tyler?
143% of my CPU power.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Hey, Wood Pigeon, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's hard to give advice when some folks aren't in the same climate. See, and that I feel a little advantage because
It's so wet around here.
the Southwest, I've camped down there quite a bit. The Northwestern Rockies and British Columbia, very familiar. I lived out there, lived off grid for a full year with a family of 6. and Minnesota, Boundary Waters area. I got 30 plus years of paddling the Boundary Waters, and I've lived in northern Wisconsin for over 30 years. And so I feel a little bit of an advantage of those climate differences, but there's so many biomes throughout our continent, that
in me, I got Arizona, and I've got South Carolina, and I've got Kentucky, and then obviously I've got Wisconsin. So when I was in the service, I had all those places. Plus, I did my cold weather survival in Alaska. So those things have helped build me to who I am now. But I will take my climate every day over going out in the desert.
I've only been in Pennsylvania.
Oh, you got a lot to experience, buddy.
Yeah.
You're getting close to getting your
I
license.
think the
right?
only state I've ever been to other than Pennsylvania is West Virginia.
I like the
But
idea.
I mean, obviously I went through other states, but this is the only one I really went to.
I really like the idea where you can take, when it's cold, you can take, or you get warm, you can take stuff off. But when it's hot, you can't take enough off.
I
That's
can't stand heat.
That's the old rule of thumb. You can dress for the cold, but you cannot undress for that heat, that extreme heat. Because people. I used to work on a rescue team in northwestern Montana. In the middle of the summer, we'd have tourists that would get lost, and we'd find hikers that were lost, and they're walking in a pair of shorts and tennis shoes and everything else they threw away because it was heavy, and they're severely sunburned. I mean, 2nd-degree burns, and it's like, you dummies. Why were you not wearing a long sleeve shirt? Why didn't you put long pants on? You had them in your backpack, but you threw your backpack away. It's too hot. Yeah, but look at you. You're a French fry, for crying out loud. You wouldn't be a French fry if you would have kept some clothes on. And by the way, all the cricks that you came across, take that shirt off, soak it in the crick, put it back on. Do the same with your pants. And as that evaporates, it's going to bring your body temperature down by at least 2 full degrees.
Not only that, is you're fried like that, you get blisters. Now you got a chance to get disease or infection.
Oh yeah.
It's just
if you're not found over time, you're going to be so infected up that you'll end up with toxemia because of all of the infection. And
Wes, the reason why I don't like the desert is because, for number one, is heat, and number two is that in the summertime here, the food that we have out in the outdoors is just phenomenal. I mean, out there, you have your rattlesnake, you can eat your cactus, and there's a lot of edibles out there, but the choices are totally different. And up here in northern Wisconsin in the summertime, it's just like a oasis.
Yeah.
Besides our mosquitoes will pick you up and carry you away.
And I'm so fortunate there because the skeeters do not bother me. A little bit, but not enough. I don't.
Nothing bothers me. It just ticks.
I'll give you a hint, Nick. There's a really cool thing that you can do to keep bugs out of your camp totally. All right. So you go make yourself some torches, and then take some punk wood and you pack that punk wood in your torch, and you light that punk wood up, and it'll smoke everything out, and you will have no skeeters, you'll have no bugs, you'll have nothing because they can't stand it. So you put it all the way around your campsite like that.
And that punk wood will put out so much smoke.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I agree with you, Mark. Up here, summer camping, I take all this food with me out camping, and I end up taking a grouse or two, or catching a bunch of fish and taking a bunch of food home. Summer camping up here, if you run out of food, that doesn't mean you have to go home. Just go fishing, for crying out loud. You're going to eat just fine. I mean, it's summertime up here. There's no excuse to go hungry.
Well, that too, and the wild edibles that you have up here, there's so many things that you can eat off of. I mean, I can make full salads in the summertime out in the woods.
I was gonna say, if you really want to eat like a king, put a deer snare out and collect yourself a salad, and have yourself a nice big venison steak with a salad. And none of it came from the grocery store.
Wood Pigeon, thank you for coming in.
Yep, absolutely. Someone had asked things.
It's already midnight here. Holy cow!
Everyone met. I met Mark. How did we meet, Mark?
You were at somebody's house at a party. Doing a live stream there.
I remember that night. I remember. I'll say that. That is how we met. Sty, I met, I think, other people that I watch, and I saw him in there, and I checked his channel out, which is the beauty thing about doing these live streams, and you see people talking to them. If you end up liking what they're saying and stuff, you can just simply click on their little profile thing and bring up theirs. And I'm glad I did. I love storytelling, and obviously from tonight, you guys can tell Sty can just go and go and go, and he's always got some interesting stuff to say. That's how I found him. And then, of course, Nick, I'm sure you probably hear this a million times because your video has 12 million views on it. I found Nick when he did his 70 subscriber winter camping special video. So
yeah,
that is how I met all three of these guys.
I met Mark, like he said, in the beginning of time. I had just started my YouTube channel. I think I had 3 or 4 videos. That was it. And Mark showed up, and he said, "Oh, cool, and I like that, and check me out too. You should check my channel." And I go over there, and he's got 3 or 4 videos, and I'm like, "Oh, cool. He's like me." Well, we got chatting, and we were talking about wild edibles and mushroom hunting and all that stuff, and just going on, and all of a sudden I realized he's here. He's here to stay, man. This is cool. And he lives in my state. I love it. And so he's been with me for 4.5 years. It's a long time. And I met Tyler. That was like happenstance. I saw you in other streams, and I kept going, interesting. And I checked your channel out, and I said, geez, I like this. This guy, he's gonna do good. So I subscribed. Then he shows up in one of my streams, and it says, "Whoa, cool." So I got stuck on Tyler, and that was within the, I'd say maybe last 8 months, Tyler, if that long.
Yeah.
It hasn't been terribly long. And then I met Nicholas through both you guys. Because Nicholas was on a stream with you too, and I'm watching it, and I'm going, well, he's interesting. So I had to check out Nicholas. I'm going, well, that's cool. I like him too. and now here we are. We're all here.
The funny thing is Nick reminds me of when I was a kid trying stuff out because I love the outdoors. I wanted to go spend time in the outdoors. I'm like, and my family, no one likes the outdoors because there's bugs. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go do it myself. Forget you all. I'm going. Bye. Yeah. And then my grandpa said to me, oh, I'll tell you what, I'll build you a tree house. I'm like, great, go build me a tree house. Well, I didn't like it, so I had to build me a new one. And that's how I got started with doing the wild camping and the bushcraft and everything else, is because I had to do it myself if I wanted it. And I'm like,
right,
you know what? Now I got a cabin, and I've got a lean-to, and I got a place that I can go and hang out and do whatever I want to. Right. And that's what's really cool about it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I had my father and my granddad, pure outdoorsman. I mean, from baby on, in the outdoors, up in the north woods of Minnesota, boundary waters, right from the get-go. And then when I was 12, when I was 11, my grandfather passed away. When I was 12, my pop passed away. And everybody in my family loved the outdoors if someone was taking them there. And I was the kind of guy where, no, I don't want to be the guy to take you. I want to be the guy that just goes. And so yeah, I just, from that point on, I was thankful I had learned so much from those two growing up. And then I started finding other old guys, old wise men, What
was really funny is when I went into the service and we had the survival and stuff, I just shined it through that. They're like, how do you know all this stuff? You're going out there and these guys are all eating MREs and I'm hunting wild edibles, and they're like, he's eating better than we are.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was Boy Scouts for me. I was in Boy Scouts. I can't remember what year it was when I went into Boy Scouts, but I wasn't in Boy Scouts a month, and I wasn't that familiar with Boy Scouts. And I go, "You got a badge for for starting a bow fire, bow drill fire?
Yeah.
And they said, oh, yeah, we do. They said, in fact, we'll do that next week. Well, I come next week, and our troop had 24 guys in it, right? They're all just bumping on these bow drills that our troop master showed them how to make. And I'm picking through the material. I was real picky. Got the right drill. I got the right hearth board, perfect bow. And in about 10 minutes, I had an ember and I had a fire going in the basement of a church. and the scoutmaster couldn't start a bow drill fire. All of a sudden, they thought I was God. This man can create fire.
You think about it, though.
Caveman, that first time he struck a fire, it's just everybody's flocking around. How'd you do it? I rubbed them sticks together, just like the book said here.
You think about it, though. You take and make fire without some kind of way to light it. It is a big thing, because that gives you a whole different perspective, because you have that ability. If your pack would get wet, or your gear would, your fire starter, you wasted whatever, you have that knowledge that you can actually make a fire without any means of actually an ignition source. And it really is a cool thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Mary, that's awesome too. I don't know if you guys read Mary's
I just saw that
comment there. Like I said, I know I've said this quite a few times. I didn't have a dad. My dad passed away when I was just right before I turned 1 year old, and I never had a father figure in my life up until about 5 years ago. So everything that I know now is stuff that I was self-taught and that I learned. I never got the opportunity to do Boy Scouts or anything like that. I just kind of always loved the outdoors. Like I said, I never had anyone show me how to change a tire, fix, change the oil in a car, make a fire, set up a tent, anything like that. So that's good. It's good to see that stuff, because I wish a lot of people can pass that on.
And that's the whole thing, Tyler. Learning so much on your own, just getting your hands dirty and doing it. A person's got to love the outdoors and the crafty part of it to do that, to have the will to just, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to just have to go out there, get my hands dirty and learn. But then being willing to share it is the important part. I'm a firm believer. You got to share your knowledge with people.
Not only that, is that this is a dying breed. If it's homesteading, bushcrafting, outdoorsmen, all that stuff from the old school ways, people aren't learning this thing. So if something would happen and you can't sustain yourself,
right?
That's the key to it. You look at this. If let's just say, like up here, for instance, we had 2.5 weeks with no power.
Right.
You got to find ways to cook. You got to find ways to do stuff.
I was going to do a video titled Bushcrafting, the Art of What Ifs.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Because that's literally what bushcrafting is the art of what ifs. What if? What if you had no way to make a fire? Can you make a fire? You should be able to. So, and what if you have no food with you? Will you eat? What if?
Jojo's asking a question here is, I'm curious to know, in a non-survival situation, what is the one wild animal you'd refuse to eat? Mine is raccoon. I think what mine would be rat.
Yeah.
Boy.
Lots of diseases in rats.
I'd have to say mink.
Yeah, mink.
Go with what?
Mink would be another one, because they're just nasty anyway.
They have that aroma too. Even their meat, I think.
Yeah, they should have named them Stink.
That's my favorite thing to trap is mink, though.
Yeah. Oh man, I made a gold mine in 1980.
My dad used to raise them.
1986. I made a gold mine off of Ermine out in Montana.
Mary's
What, like the weasels or the mink?
The mink.
Oh,
Winter mink.
a lot of skunk is coming up.
Skunk. I've eaten skunk.
You know, skunk isn't as bad as everyone thinks. You know, as long as you don't taint the meat.
That's it. You got to kill the skunk so he don't spray.
skinning them
Yep.
is a pain going around those glands.
That's the whole art of it. That's the whole art of it.
And they're right there too.
If you can skin them out without, a buddy of mine, he'll skin a skunk neck down, and he'll cut them off right at the hindquarters. He says, "Oh, I can get nowhere near the tail end of that bugger," and he'll eat the front 2/3 of the skunk. But
You ever see they use a needle and they go in and get out the spray for like coyote sets?
yeah, well,
That's brave.
we used to do that. You know, we'd kill a skunk and then extract the juice out of the glands, and we'd use it on cloth strips and tie them to our boots to cover scent trail when we're out bow hunting, and worked really good. Deer didn't know it was us coming through the woods. They thought it was just another stinker.
Thing with rats was from living like in Arizona and seeing them big sewer rats and stuff like that, the things. And I just like after that.
Yeah, I think the thing is, mice and rats carry so many diseases that
that's it. Anything in the rat class, I think that would be the one that I'd avoid too.
It showed 2 people got the Black Plague again.
Yeah, let's spread that crap around, right? Yeah.
They want to bring it back. That's not good.
Yeah, there'd be 2 classes of people, us and the rat eaters.
There's so many things out there in the world that is very good. And if you make it the correct way, you can have a phenomenal meal out in the woods, because naturally smoked food is just wonderful.
I've eaten woodchuck too, Jervis. Yes, woodchuck wasn't bad. One thing I ate that kind of weirded me out, I could eat it again if pressed, was mountain lion. There's something about eating a cat. Now I've never eaten bobcat or lynx, but I did eat mountain lion out in Montana. This guide out there, he swore up and down he could fix up a really awesome mountain lion. I said, "Okay, I'll give it a try." And it was good. He prepared it up as a stew, but the meat was actually pretty good, but it's tough. Mountain lion's a lot of muscle, hard muscle. And but I tell you what, if you were in a fix and you killed yourself a mountain lion, and I'm one where I don't like to waste nothing, so if I killed a mountain lion, I'd want to make a use out of it. But if I had dogs, I'd be able to feed my dogs.
JC, it's actually really good, buddy. JCT says I would eat a snake if I had to, but snake is actually really good.
Yeah, I actually like snake. I wouldn't turn down snake.
See, the thing is too, in a survival situation where you haven't ate in almost over a week, your body just kind of takes over and does its own thing. Your body kind of puts that whole survival instinct in front of what you're actually thinking. So I've heard people that were vegetarians.
Oh yeah.
Would eat some random, like really weird random, like possum or something like that, because they haven't eaten in weeks, and they said it's the best thing that they ever had in their life.
Yeah.
Because your body just is over.
Their body's screaming for that protein and the fats, and
there's so much stuff out there. You can eat bullfrog, crawdads.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can.
Hey, I watched a guy smoke a tent smoker, a whole mess of songbirds. The biggest birds he had in there, he had a couple of blue jays, and what he plucked them, all these little birds, plucked them, and the whole darn bird, guts, all heads.
That's
everything.
The one thing I couldn't eat is songbirds.
And he he smoked them little buggers, and I watched him grab them by the feet, and he's bite the head off first, and he just eat the whole darn bird, and
Oh, wow.
he had the specs on how much nutrition was in each one of those birds doing it that way, and I said, as far as the nutritional value, I'm all for it. As far as edibility, I'm not sticking Tweety bird in my mouth. Not that way. That was just a little.
Well, I'm gonna have to get off, guys, because it's 12:20 here.
Yeah,
All right.
That's right.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good Christmas and everything.
Yes,
you as well. Christmas and God bless, buddy.
See ya. I'll be watching for a little
anytime.
bit. I gotta edit a video.
Sounds good. We'll be waiting for it.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, Tyler's 11:20 here, so I should probably we're over a 2-hour mark anyway.
Yeah. I haven't eaten yet today, so yeah, I'm gonna have to drop quick too.
Right
Back.
on.
Pill time.
Pill time.
I don't even know what the heck day it is.
Well, I kept thinking tomorrow's Christmas, and it's
That's
tomorrow's
right.
Christmas Eve.
It's New Year's.
It's New Year's.
I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming and joining us. It was another great podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Did you want to tell people about our upcoming trip?
Go ahead.
Me? Why me?
Because it's your trip. I'm in my own state.
Yes, you are. So I know I've been talking to a few people here and there and about this. I will be coming up to visit Mark sometime mid to late February. We're going to be doing a 7-day survival challenge, and he's projecting the temperatures to be roughly between -25 all the way up to -60 degrees with over 100 plus inches of snowfall. He's already got roughly 2, 3, 4 feet of snow.
Yeah, right now we're looking at about 3.5, 4, but it's starting to melt.
Yeah. So about 4 feet of snow. And we're going to be having a special guest coming up with me to visit Mark for this challenge, Drop Forward Survival, Chris Thorne. We're going to be doing a 7-day winter wilderness surviving trip, and we're going to see if we have what it takes to stay out in -25 to -60 degree weather. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be intense, but Mark does have some very special qualifications about him. You want to tell people about that, Mark?
Well, for one thing is I have winter and cold weather survival. On top of that, I have ice and water rescue. I was with the EMS and fire department for many years, so that has a lot of it to do with it. The can behind me can tell you some of my qualifications, because that's a huge thing about right there is you can just being able to do something like this and stay in something like that is a huge booster right there.
Yeah.
The fun thing about this whole thing is what Tyler's also saying is our deer hunt season is gone. For them to get a small game license to actually small game hunt, you're looking at $40-50. Trout season gone.
Yeah.
Stuff is all froze over. So the food that they are going to be able to eat more or less is what they're going to be able to pack in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Unless they were on a pond or a lake full of panfish. Yeah. That's about it. You're going to have to pack your food in.
And the other side of this thing is these are Southerners. Their blood ain't as thick as what ours are. So they're going to have a huge eye opener, especially Chris coming out of Texas when he hits.
That's what I'm waiting for.
When he hits my neck of the woods. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get Chris in shorts. Just if it's this much of a time frame, We are going to try to talk him into getting it because every one of his videos he's in shorts. So we're going to try to get him to get into some shorts, but I'm not saying it's going to happen because he might just say, this ain't happening. But
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, if my ankle's in good enough shape, I'd love to come down there and snowshoe in just to say howdy.
Yeah,
That'd be stay, but to come on in, sit down, maybe make a micro fire and have myself a cup of coffee with you guys. And
well, see,
I'll even snowshoe out and go get the truck and go get you.
That's one thing was actually open site because I know you was talking about a week or two ago about doing a bushcraft snowshoe video, and we kind of got the idea from you. And hopefully you get the video up in time before we head out, because one of the in the 7-day series videos, we're going to be doing a bushcraft style snowshoe, how to make them. So we were all, the three of us have all been talking, and we're like, I really hope Sty gets a video up so we can kind of get a good idea on it.
Yeah, and yeah, we can talk even if I don't get a video up.
Right.
We can talk so that kind of walk you through how I make them, and I should be able. I think I can get close enough to the woods to do it, even with my bum ankle. I know a spot that I only have to walk about 100 feet through private land, and then I can do what I want.
The biggest thing about snowshoes is you have to get, like I use because of my area with the pine trees. So you got to get a live pine tree. And then what I do is start a fire, and I start bending and heating up it's probably about that big. And I start bending it and heating it so I can get it so it'll actually bend around. I tie the end, I put my runners across, and you can put branches on it, whatever you want. And you got a snowshoe. It'll get you through what you need to.
See now, Mark, if I hope I can do my video before Tyler takes a crack at it, because what I do is I find myself a really nice spruce with really low boughs that's really, really prolific with branches, heavy branches, and lots of pine, lots of needles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll actually cut a couple of boughs and about, I'd say 18 inches back from the end of the bough, the big end, the stick, I'll tie paracord and I'll bring that up into a curve. And then I pull all those branches together and I form the tail off the end, and I just lace it with paracord, and there's your shoe. Now you just make a paracord
strap.
So the thing is you just got to make sure that it's a thick enough bough that it's providing a cross branch, which is going to be kind of half moon shaped, each one, no more than about 3 inches apart. And they'll carry a man of about 250 pounds if you make a good one. And yeah, we used to make them all the time. My grandfather taught me that one when I was a kid, and I kept doing it through my teens. And when we were out in Montana, I did it out there.
My problem is I'm over the weight limit.
There. Well, see, that's where then, like my grandfather, he was too. He was like 315 pounds. He would double up. He'd use 4 boughs, and he'd put one bough on top of the other. And so he had more area that wouldn't allow snow through, and it would carry him just fine. And that what you end up with is like a modified bear paw that is more shaped like an Alaskan Trail snowshoe because it's got a longer tail on it.
Yeah.
And
hopefully what I can do too is I'm hoping that I can find the right tree, because I'm going to show Tyler how to make some cross-country skis. If I can find the one that's got that nice arch in it. I don't know if I'm going to find any of them like that, and I'm going to show him how you can split the tree right down the center.
Right, make staves.
Yep.
Yeah. So we've done that with cedar. Find a cedar that's got just the right bend in it, and then we cut the staves from the straight end, and they just follow that curve of that bend, and you'd end up with two beautiful flat boards, and then we'd draw knife it. We'd use our bushcraft knife and draw knife them nice and smooth, and put a foot pad in the right spot, and just make back then we used leather thong to make our the bindings for it, but they're cross country skis, so you only need toe bindings. You just got to hold the front of your boot on that ski. And
one of the biggest things that Tyler is going to learn here too is he has all his gear to start fires, but I really want to teach him our traditional way of making the fires and finding the right stuff and doing it that way and making a nest and so that when you got everything, it works and you can use our stuff in our ways in a wet environment. I mean, I don't care if it's snowing or raining or anything like that. This stuff is going to go up. So
don't forget pine boogers.
Yeah, pine boogers are really good ones.
Don't forget pine boogers. Carry an empty pill bottle with you. And
when I was a kid, I used to love to pop them, and they'd squirt out of there all the time.
Yes.
Looks like a big old snit coming out of there.
Yeah. And then you find some of those nice red pines with a big old booger hanging off the side, and you can cut that whole booger off and get it in a pill bottle. And that's what I use on my hand drills is I put a little dab of pine booger on the top of my hand drill. So when I go to hand drill, I just pinch a little of that off and I rub it up and down the drill. And it's just like you're using rubber. It sticks to your hand so perfect to run that. And your hand, it's none of this, I hit the bottom thing and I got to stop and get back to the top. Your hands will stay centered on it perfect because of that pitch. It holds your hands right in place. Yeah, pine boogers, love them. And
not only that, it's
fire. Yeah.
And it's medicinal. So if you ever get a cut, you cover your cut up with that and it'll instantly stop the bleeding and it'll keep it airtight and sealed and it'll actually heal really quick. So there's so many means of that pine tree that most people don't even realize.
Yep.
Right.
A superficial cut, pine booger, and you find yourself a birch polypore, a green one, fresh one, pop it off, peel the skin off of it. Makes a perfect gauze patch over that pine booger, and you can tie it on with a piece of paracord, and now you're all bandaged up, and in about 3 days you'll never know you even cut yourself. I love this, guys.
Pine boogers. You got a new thing now.
Yeah, pine boogers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we call them. I've seen a few bushcrafters use that term, pine boogers, and I laugh because, man, back in the 1960s, that's what we called them. But when I was a kid, we'd pick them off and fling them at each other. Pine booger in your hair.
Oh, they're nasty too. They're sticky. They can. Really
Don't get it on the rest of your gear.
Yeah, I have a feeling that this is going to be, not only is it going to be really fun coming up and doing this and really testing ourselves, but also the experience of learning from, people like you, Mark, and, and people like Chris. And, I'm sure I have some other stuff to offer the table because, like I said, I'm nowhere near, a professional or an expert in any ways. I love learning. That's kind of the whole, purpose behind going out and doing this kind of stuff is learning from that kind of stuff. So,
and we learn from folks that feel that they haven't learned yet. We watch what they do and we go, you know what? I just got a new idea. Watching them learn just taught me something. And that happens to me all the time. I'll watch somebody that's just starting from the ground up and I'm learning from them. Yeah.
I learned most of my tricks of the trade, Tyler, was from a Ho-Chunk medicine man back in the day because I used to hang around with his son, and he was taking his grandson at the time out to teach him the life of the woods, and that's where I learned a great portion of my stuff, especially my edibles and stuff like that, was from him.
That's how I learned to make pine tar and pine pitch for arrowheads.
Yeah.
I learned that from a native elder. Yeah, he taught me how to make pine pitch, but he taught me how to make it in a very old way, and you're not using steel containers. You can make pine pitch using duck eggs too, or birch pitch.
Birch pitch, yeah.
Yeah, using duck
Well,
eggs.
the other thing, Sty, too, is if I can find some. I know there was some there last year, the year before, but I actually want to show Tyler how to make the birch bowls, because there should be one up there where that birch should actually peel across pretty easy now, and it's on the ground.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we're going to be able to try to make some birch bowls too.
Well, that's what I love up here, and some of my videos where I eat in the video, so often I've got my fine bushcraft china, and I'll find me an awesome birch laying on the ground, and I'll cut myself a platter out of that birch, and I've got the cleanest, nicest paper plate that you can get your hands on. And guess what? That starts tomorrow's fire too. It was my plate last night to eat my steak on, and I'm going to use it to start fire tomorrow. There's so much you can do. There's so much you can do. It's so endless. That's why I think Tyler doing these podcasts is a great idea, because this is a topic that doesn't get old. There's so much. There's so much you can't do it in a day. You can't do it in a week. You can't do it in a month. Well, we're talking centuries and centuries of art living.
Every piece of gear has a different top or different angle on it. It's from multiple uses of a sleeping bag, the tags on a sleeping bag, ferro rods versus magnesium rods.
All of it.
All of it's different. If you're doing your tinder bundles or you're buying a fire starter, the difference in that way is lighting a fire in a wet environment, lighting the fire in a cold, wet environment. There's so many different things.
That's one thing I should probably try to fit in next year too, is making a bow drill. I can do a bow drill. That's not an issue. But try hike into a remote creek somewhere that's very heavily timbered and tree covered, and don't allow yourself to go any more than 50 feet either side of that creek, and you got to find all the material to make your bow drill. And it's tough. That moisture's there year round. Try to find something that you can use for a drill and a hearth board that's going to let you make an ember along a creek bed. And I had done it back in the days without cameras, and it took a lot. It took a lot to succeed. So I'm thinking I want to do another video of being able to make a bow drill and get a fire off of all materials on creek beds, flowing creek beds. It's tough, but it's a good learning experience. And that's it, is as you go along, make it a little tougher, because in good conditions, then it's just like night and day. You don't even worry about it anymore, because you succeeded on the hard end,
The biggest thing too up here is, when you light a fire Sty, either you're digging all the way down to the ground, and then you got to lay some wood down to start that fire, because anything that you put on there is going to soak up the water, melt the snow, put a cold in, or like you said, how many times you wake up and your fire's now a pond.
Yep. You don't have a fire, you should have a fishing pole, because you got 8 inches of water in your fire pit.
Yeah, those are the things too, is like up here, you have to think ahead of that, because you can get that fire going, and you're going to be feeding that beast, because it's, for number one, all the moisture around it is melting and putting your fire out.
Yeah. Oh, and summer camping, fire pits in the summer. I know people think I'm anal about it, but I've come across people, they put up a nice ring of rock, and they swiped all the leaves away and everything, and then they start their fire right on that bare ground surrounded by rock. And I'll blow a cork. I'll go, what the heck do you think you're doing? What do you mean? Or we got a fire pit. I said, you're trying to burn the forest down? What do you mean? I said, you dig a pit, and that pit had better be at least 10 inches deep. Yeah. I said, then you make sure to put back in that pit clean soil that doesn't have any roots in it. Then go ahead and start your fire.
People don't realize about fires
I
around
said,
here.
you get a spruce root going or one of these birch roots going, and it's going to burn along that root. You're going to be back at home sleeping in your bed, and a fire is going to crop up in the brush over there 30 feet away from your camp.
And that actually happened. Where's that coal factory that started on fire was burning underneath there? It's still burning to this day.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and there's a part in central Wisconsin, down by Green Bay, that actually was started, and it was thousands of acres burned because there was a campfire, caught the roots on fire, and it just started jumping from tree to tree to tree.
Yep.
And it started from underground.
That's it. That people don't realize that those roots are fire feeders, and they're so full of that, especially the pine and the birch. Both of them, the birch is full of resin, the pine's full of pine oils and virtually turpentine. It doesn't need a lot of oxygen to smolder and burn, and it'll burn until that root comes back out of the ground somewhere. And then it's a surface fire, and it gets a lot of oxygen. The dry leaves, grasses, everything around it, poof, into flames. Now you got a forest fire. And people, when they try to argue with me on that, I tell you what, Itasca, Minnesota, the big state park there, headwaters of the Mississippi, they had that happen when I was about 14 years old. They had that exact thing happen. The fire cropped up actually 35 yards from the fire pit. And they were able to trace the roots right back to that fire pit, the burnt out roots right back to that fire pit.
Wayne Outdoors, thanks for coming in here, and happy holidays to you, and take care. Yeah. And thanks for coming to chat.
Hey, I'm going to let you guys go. Go. Hey,
thanks for coming in, Sty.
You're awesome. I'm privileged to have you two as friends, and look forward to another one.
Take care, buddy.
Nice.
Yeah. Keep it up, Tyler. You're doing great.
I appreciate it, Sty.
Yeah.
You have a good night, sir.
Bye-bye.
Adios.
Yeah, buddy, it's almost that time. We're way over that 2-hour mark.
Yeah, we are. So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get things wrapped up. I want to thank everyone for coming in, hanging out, listening to us rabble on about odds and ends. I hope at least one person in here learned something new and maybe take a better understanding to, your repercussions of what can happen when you're out camping. Like we was just talking about campfires and stuff like that. So everyone, thank you. God bless. And have a good night, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's if I don't see you guys by then. Tyler Wood Bushcraft and
Rolling Homestead.
We'll catch you guys on the next one.
See you later.
Adios.